So that's why, for me, that was the greatest thing that a person could have told me. You need to show compassion to yourself. Mm-hmm. Where's your grace to yourself? I had never heard those words, right?
Okay.
I didn't think I got grace. Like, I thought my grace came from God, right?
Right.
But I didn't think grace came from me to me.
Right.
You understand that?
Yeah.
And it took me reflecting on it for a day.
Of course,
like,
yes.
And I said, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Can you go to prison for anxiety attacks? If you're a fighter, you can. Because when you have an anxiety attack, when you have an anxiety attack, you get to the point of fear.
Yeah.
When you go to fear, you go to what? I'm scared.
Yes.
I'm fear.
But you're not going
People
to prison.
Go to fear. You know what they go to? Combativeness.
Sure.
And when they start fighting, they don't care you're having an anxiety attack. That guy's fighting, and the police are here, and they're just fighting the police. You know what you're going to catch? Charges.
So you're going to
go
jail,
to prison.
but you're going to prison for violence against a police officer, not for anxiety.
The self-talk then increases or decreases the emotional response that we just had. That was real. We had an emotional response.
Yeah.
That's real.
Sure.
Right? If you dump that over, I'm like, oh man, screwing this computer, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have a response to that. I'm going to feel it's something.
Right.
How, now, with my self-talk, I feel about that after I control, right?
Yeah.
So your own thoughts directed and controlled by you are what create anxiety, anger, and the depression. When we grow up, we're under this belief that that's a person that we should be. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, like, we have bad tendencies, bad habits in that person, right? And we think that that's who we are. Mm-hmm. I can't change that. It's who I am. Okay. But you already accepted to be that character. Right. So you can change any part of your character because it's a character that you're playing.
Welcome back for another life-altering conversation contained within one of, if not the, greatest podcast currently in existence. This, of course, is the Why Can't We Talk About That podcast. As always, I like to get all the technical stuff out of the way first. So the email to reach me is whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Use this to send me messages, ask for advice, tell me what you think of the podcast, let me know about the greatest band I've never heard of, tell me that you want to be a guest, and so on and so forth. You could even send me an email with nothing more than just the word hello, or even just an emoji of your favorite animal or something. I'm not at all kidding when I say that this would make my day awesome. Something else that would be awesome is if you would leave me a review on whatever platform you are listening to this from. Apple, Spotify, even over on the YouTubes. I would greatly appreciate this. Today's discussion is another sequel episode of sorts, as my guest, Cort Newby, has been on the show before. He is on episode 9 of this current season 3. I didn't remember the exact episode or season, so I looked it up for you in case you haven't checked out that episode yet and you wanted to listen to it. You see what I am willing to do for you? You should be overwhelmed with gratitude. During the first conversation I had with Cort, one of the topics that was mentioned but not dug too deeply into was anxiety. So for this episode, we decided to dedicate the whole entire time to that specific topic. As many of you know, I have struggled off and on with anxiety since I was 13. Cort has his own struggles with it as well. In fact, I am sure that many of you have struggled with it at some point, in some way, throughout your life. So, this episode is for you. Dealing with anxiety can at times feel lonely, as it's hard to find other people who understand what you are going through. If this is you, it's my hope, and Cort's as well, that our discussion will help you in some way. Enjoy the conversation.
Now, it's very interesting. It's an interesting study. But anyway, I get sidetracked.
Yeah, for sure. Before we start, though, I want to ask you how the karaoke thing went. I know that was months and months ago now, but...
Oh, with Lucy, yeah?
Yeah.
On her birthday. We did it last night, too.
Oh, do you guys do that often?
Frank come over for her birthday, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's fun, you know. It's a good...
Do you have any specific songs that you tend to rock at the best, or what?
Yeah, well, the one, like... So one thing I learned about, like, singing, right, is why it's very hard karaoke night to, like, go up and just sing a song if someone picks, because you don't know the melody, you don't know you know Happy Birthday, because why?
Because you've heard it a million times, yeah.
So, every song's like, if you know the word in the song, you listen, and then you can sing. And then that's why when you read it in karaoke and it's a different word than what you've been singing all along, you're like, what? That doesn't say it. Because you're really singing the sound as opposed to the actual word, right?
Yeah. And that's why I had that whole thing about lyrics you thought were a certain. There's the whole you can find whole internet pages just dedicated to that. And some of them are like, isn't that what it says? Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not what it says. What?
Yeah, it's funny.
Okay,
It's
funny. Cool.
But yeah, no, it was fun. We like it. We really enjoy doing that.
Do your kids do? Will your kids sing too?
Sometimes, yeah. I'll get them up.
Okay.
Bruce did it with me last night. That's fun.
What one did he do?
Oh, what did we do together? It was Regulators by Warren G.
Oh, no way.
right?
So did you guys switch off? One was Warren G, one was Nate Dogg, or what?
Yeah,
okay. Nice, dude.
He was missing. He kept missing his part, though.
Who was he?
Really
was he Nate Dogg? Or?
Yeah, he just really let it down. He didn't have the same pipes like Nate Dogg. Hit those keys, hit those notes.
That's too funny, man. Now, I can't imagine Lucy doing karaoke. Does she do it?
She does, yeah.
Okay.
Gloria Estefan, that's her song.
Really?
Right? Wasn't that the one? I Will Survive. Isn't it Gloria
I Will Survive is...
or which one is it? I always mess it up.
That's the Gloria Gaynor.
I mix it up.
You got Gloria right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Gloria Gaynor, yeah.
Whoever does I Will Survive. She
okay, yeah. That's awesome. I can't even picture that. She seems too quiet and timid.
No, that's her song. But like I said, it's because she knows that. Like,
right.
If you brought her up to sing another song, it would be hard because.
Yeah.
But if you practice a thing.
Yeah.
Then you can do it. Like, so I've been So one of the things my friend that I told you about, Steve that plays is a musician.
Yeah.
He said one of the key things is like learn a song all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's real important. Like it's like so funny how we don't do that. And like we can attach this to the thing but then in another thing, oh no, it can't be the same. But then you realize, oh, it is the same. If you do a thing all the way through, and then it makes the next things easier, right? So when you finally, the one like that I really liked, I like No Woman No Cry. I told you last.
Oh yeah.
So I really practiced it a bunch.
Sure.
And now it's actually funny because when you practice a thing enough, then I understand what Steve meant. Like music is awesome.
Yeah.
And like the more you play it, the more you realize what you're doing, and then you start seeing it in all kinds of different other aspects of your life, like we talked about. And it's like this invisible wave is going on, right?
Yeah.
And when you hear music, it's like you're hearing this rhythm, this wave, and you're catching on to it and writing it.
Okay.
And when you get good at it, like you can feel it. Like you are in it. You're in that groove. You're right there. You can feel it.
Right.
And it's similar. Like I can also say this is very similar. Like when I'm fighting, whether it be randori, sparring, whatever it is, grappling, sparring, whatever grappling or fighting, wrestling, sparring or striking. I can feel it, right? You get in this flow where you can see, move, and everything is just flowing really, really well, right?
Yeah.
And that's how your music. And so it's really, really neat when you have something good where you can do that, like, and you can just feel it, like, and you can instantaneously go into it, like name a musician we know, like Michael on stage.
Sure.
He can go right into it, right? And he can feel it immediately as he's in it.
Yeah.
And he can feel it when he's off.
Yeah.
But it comes with that constant practice over and over and over.
So do you think there's a gifting involved there too, or do you think just anybody off the street can practice enough to where they can do that?
I think the gifting is how fast it comes to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you think everybody can do it? Just for some, it's going to be faster.
Like everybody can do it, but what level will you do it at, right? And your gifting usually enables what level you can do it at.
Sure.
So if you're a born gifted genius musician like Mozart or something, your level is going to be way farther than I'll ever achieve. Right?
Sure.
But everyone can get to everyone has a baseline they can get to, and they can go past their baseline. Right? Okay. Each person, we talked about that.
Yeah, we did. But there's like a writing involved too. Like you mentioned. Did you mention Mozart or Beethoven, whichever one you just said? Oh, yeah. Like I could probably practice and learn how to play his songs. Mm-hmm. Right? I probably could if I was disciplined and I could probably play it just like he did. But he wrote it. Right? I don't know what amount of practice I could do to where I could compose a classical piece of music like that would be well known for centuries. You know, I think that's that to me, that's the natural gifting that only select few people have.
And he was brought up with that technology. Mm-hmm. That was the highest level of the technology they had to write out the music at that time.
Right.
you would never use that now. You would use a program, you would use a this or that, you would use a total different set
It'd
of
be totally easier.
It's like the kit that Dre used to make his whatever
The
album.
Chronic, yeah.
Name, fill in the blank, right?
Yeah,
that was the kit he used. That kit cost him $100,000+ back then, right?
Yeah.
Now you go down and download that app.
Right.
30 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
you
could be the
exact
next
same
Dre,
thing.
man.
So
Yeah.
The technology and everything else.
Yeah.
And like, again, their technology back then and what they did with each instrument and how they used each instrument, and they couldn't stop it and manipulate it later like we can. It was all live, right? We can do we can remaster it now, right? We can do that. So
it's crazy.
Right?
It kind of makes you wonder, like, if we took someone from back then and put them here, how they would do with, like, what kind of stuff they would create.
How they would, or would they?
Or would they even mess with it?
Would they be so over...
stimulated?
Yeah, or would they be, like... Because we can overthink things, right? And maybe it was just the right amount, so they didn't overthink it at that time, and it happened just the way it did. Like, there's so many variables.
Right,
You can't,
that's true.
That's why you can't, like, that gets into if you changed one thing in history.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Like time travel movies that don't make sense.
Can't do it.
Wait, if you change that little thing there, it would be totally different in here, but it never is.
So many variables.
Yeah.
They could have come up with nothing.
Right.
Right?
That's awesome.
You never had Mozart, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting in how all those things in our lives culminate in our personality, right?
Right.
And then we're born away, and then we're wired. So we're born the way we're wired, and then we also grow a certain way over our nurture.
Yeah.
When we have both of those things, we're going to come up in an environment, in a culture, right? And then all those things are natural, our nurture, our environment of our culture.
Right.
And that's what's going to cause us to be the person we grow into, right?
Right.
And what we value is what our culture values.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we get our values.
Yeah. Which is sad in some ways, because our culture is kind of going down the tubes in a lot of ways. So the stuff that's valued now is not as good as what used to be valued, 100 years ago.
Depends, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Like that's very. I would say each family, right?
Sure.
Each family's different.
That's true. And I mean, I guess I'm coming more from like the worldly standpoint, which would be like, and for you and I, that depends on how much of the world we're going to allow to influence our kids in a sense, right? But like we're trying to raise them differently than that. And I mean, exposure is one thing, but if they're seeing example from their own family, that's good example, then the exposure is not going to have that much of an impact on them as it would someone else. So yeah, there's definitely that aspect.
Right.
But,
and it's through like I think a lot of it's through how you're brought up, your family, your culture, and the things that you do, what's expected of you, like, what you think life is, right? That's so important, like, because we're just born, we're just this baby, and then we're brought, and you have these expectations put on you by your society, right?
Right.
And like, you did not choose those expectations, right? You were just born into this society, and those expectations were put on you. And that's what we do as parents. We bring up our kids to take the mantle and understand, like, okay, you have to clean your bathroom now.
Sure.
You have to clean your bedroom. You have to put your shoes on and tie your laces, step by step, process by process. And it's all these processes that we've worked out as grown humans that make life more efficient and easier.
Sure.
Right? And if we're really smart as grown humans, we realize that, the more efficient I become, the more free time I have. Right? Like, why don't I ever have time?
Right.
So if you have good parents that have became very efficient in things, you learn that process. If you have parents that are very scattered, then you learn that. And you're like, life is just chaos, or whatever it could be, right?
It's almost kind of a low-grade form of child abuse. Like, we look at child abuse as like physical abuse, sexual abuse, but I mean, there could be even just training your kids in the wrong way, even if you're not trying to. It's just who you are, because your parents were that way, and then their parents were that way, and it's just like this cycle,
Yeah, I mean, but
is that harsh to say child abuse? Is that
very
too harsh?
opinionative, though, right? Because that's an opinionative thing. Like, I think that's important to recognize too. Like, our view of the world is our parents' opinions.
Yeah,
and the
sometimes.
people in our lives' opinions put on it.
Sure.
Like, I mean, we can all attest to that, right? How many times have you caught yourself saying something later? You reflect, like, why did I think? Why did I? Oh, that's an old thing that was put on me that I still believe as an absolute.
Right.
I should reflect on this. And like there's many things, and I'm sure you can agree in your life that you went back and looked at, and maybe you heard it in a moment of whatever, distress, anger, blah, blah, blah. And then you held on to that thing because you never know what your kids are going to hold on to.
Sure.
And then you ran with that the rest of your life. You thought that, whatever, fill in the ABC.
Yeah.
That this is an absolute, and it's not. Right. And then you had to go back and reflect on it and take it out of your life eventually, right? Like, oh man, this is really unhealthy for me, or whatever it is.
Right.
This, as soon as this happens, A happens, I go to B.
Yeah.
Immediately. And it becomes an auto thing because I've done it 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
And I just always do this.
Right.
Every time my wife says this, I answer with this. Or every time I tell my wife this, she answers with this. It's autopilot, right?
Yeah.
How are we ever going to... Oh, I can't understand why we can never see eye to eye on this.
Yeah.
Well, because every single time we answer, it's the exact same answer. Right.
Like you got to break the cycle.
If you keep doing the same thing and you expect a different result, what are you?
Right.
You're crazy. Right?
Yes.
That's what crazy people do.
That's right.
It's the same result. Like, you're going to get the same result.
Right.
So I think that reflecting on a lot of these things that we were brought up when we were younger, whether or not that was a thing that was in the moment said to us, or was this something that our dad said all the time because there is something behind it, right?
Right.
Because some things, maybe it wasn't a good thing and we ran with it.
Sure.
And maybe if you asked him again, be like, remember, I always like Talladega Nights, right? When he was like, to his dad, he's like, well, if you ain't in first, you're in last place, Daddy. And he's like, well, who told you that, right? Well, you told me that, right? He's like, don't listen to me, I'm an idiot, right? There's all kinds of other places. Second place, third place, fourth place, right?
Yeah.
But it's true, right?
Sure.
Because at that point, he's like, why are you listening to me to that?
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing you garnered from what I said, right? So,
well, that goes back to what you said about latching onto something, and it could be that the parent in that moment, that might be the way they felt or what they believed, but an hour later they might not even think that way, or they might have said that as a joke or as a different thing, and the kid latches on and runs with it for 20 years, and it's this falsity that he's living with.
Falsity, or when, like I said before, it was when that question came up, your dad or me as a dad or whoever as a dad says, "Oh, I don't know," and you just answer with whatever.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay. Well,
don't worry about it.
And then later, like, now he's reflected on it in his life. 20 years have gone by, and he's like, oh, no, I don't think that at all. Let me tell you what I came to. And they're like, wow, I didn't know you had such an in-depth thought on this. When I asked you 20 years ago, you said this, Dad. He's like, what?
Right.
I would have never said that, right?
Yeah.
But he didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And so I think I say all that because that's like it's really like important, I think, stepping stone in your life to recognize that, like, what you've heard from other people are a lot of good and sometimes not so good opinions. Opinions. Like, we are full of opinions.
Right.
And what makes an opinion a good opinion in your mind, in my mind, right, is usually, does that person have experience? What is their depth of knowledge in this area? How long have they been looking into this, experimenting with this?
Yeah.
Have they seen the repercussions, the variables, the this, the that? That's how we value, like, oh man, that mechanic knows what he's talking about. He works on Honda Accords all the time.
Yeah, or like,
I can trust what he's saying.
like you with judo. Like, if someone asked me about judo, I don't know. I only know what you've told me, which is
and you can ask me a level
bit.
to this, and then I can ask. I'll go. Let me go ask Mario Rubio.
Right.
Let me go ask Sister Cheryl Huddai. Let me go ask. Right. So, and then there's levels. There's levels to everything. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, it's really important to recognize that, though, and then to also go, man, some things that I've thought were so absolute. Were given to me by a very opinionative person.
Right.
And maybe it doesn't mean what they said isn't true. And so I think we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? But maybe we need to go back and look at the situation and see, there's not a blanket fix for everything, right? Like a blanket fix. And I think that where anxiety has really opened my eyes to that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the blanket fix. God, take this from me.
Sure.
Why am I dealing with this?
Yeah.
Obviously, you said it's a sin to have anxiety. Take this from me.
Right.
And you wake up the next day, and where's your anxiety?
Yeah, it's still there.
Hasn't changed.
No.
Still there.
Okay, so let's start. I want to start earlier with that. So obviously that's our topic for today's anxiety, which is kind of fun because I've never done an in-depth one of anxiety. It's been mentioned lots of times because I've struggled with it my whole life. We mentioned it a little bit in your first episode. But like for you, how old were you when you first started noticing that? Were you like a kid, or is this something that developed more in your adult life, or?
So that's what's really and maybe you might notice for yourself.
Okay.
Very interesting, right? Because I think I did not recognize it as a kid.
Right.
That it was anxiety.
Correct. Yes.
I didn't recognize that I was having whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't recognize the things that your parent or whoever says. They aren't the answers. They're just trying to get you through something, right? Like they're trying to grow you up. They're trying to do all the things that a parent's supposed to do, right?
Right.
So I think not knowing what you have when you're young, finding all these ways to get through it, to get through things when you're young, right? And everybody has it. So when we say that, like, there's only certain people that, no, like, everybody has it.
Anxiety, you mean?
Everyone.
Sure.
Everyone's crazy. Like, no, this is oh man, so like, if anyone is actually listening to what I'm saying, one thing at 45 I've realized, and you can go talk to psychologists and everyone, everyone is crazy. We're all crazy.
Okay.
We're just crazy in different areas.
Okay.
Right? And we just have our personalities. We'll gravitate to certain things, blah, blah, blah. And then, but we're all a little crazy.
Well, how broad is your definition of crazy, though? Like, when you say that, you obviously don't mean everybody's schizophrenic.
We think we live in our own reality, I'll say that. Like,
okay.
We manifest, make our own reality, right? And that's true.
Okay.
We are a character in our reality. You're a character that you play every day. I'm a character I play every day.
Sure.
Sometimes we play different characters for the same person.
Yeah.
When you go to work, a different character.
Yeah.
When a police officer goes to work, he's a different character.
It's a different role.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a character, right?
Okay.
It is a character, right? A role, character, it's a role.
Yeah, but the reality is still the reality, though, right? I mean...
Oh, sure. I'm not saying... Don't get me into this, like...
Mystical,
but the reality of it is, we do play different characters.
Sure.
And I should not be the same person if I'm a police officer that I'm on Saturday afternoon barbecuing at my house.
Right.
When I put that uniform on.
Yeah, you put on different hats and...
Whatever. And every fireman, every police officer, everyone that does that type of job will tell you, oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But it's everybody's job.
Sure.
It's not just them, right? That we put it to this, this or this, they have to be that. But no, the clerk, the whoever.
Yeah.
Whatever your role in life is, right? You're playing a character, right? We are. So.
But that means you're crazy?
No.
Oh, okay, you're getting there. Okay, gotcha.
So, realizing that everyone is playing their part, right?
Okay.
And as we're brought up, we're taught our part. We're taught it from our parents, right? They teach you your part, right?
Sure.
You play the kid, you play this, you play. So when we grow up, we're under this belief that that's a person that we should be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we have bad tendencies, bad habits in that person, right? And we think that that's who we are. I can't change that. That's who I am.
Okay.
But you already accepted to be that character.
Right.
So you can change any part of your character because it's a character that you're playing. So we just talked about that, like being able to change what I say in the beginning of my mind, like when something comes to me and I go, how do I respond to that? Automatic, of course. My wife said this, I say B. I always say B. Why wouldn't I say B?
Yeah.
She said A, I say B. Stopping and saying, I'm not going to play this character today. I'm going to play a different character. I'm going to say C. I'm going to say D. I'm going to say some other ZZ, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Any other
Maybe say a number.
But something that's different.
Yeah.
that's like very important to recognize, like in your struggle with your anxiety.
Okay.
Is doing the same thing as brought you to this point. Yeah? So you have to change what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change what you're doing. So just so you realize where I come from with my anxiety.
So that's how you're seeing that you can break out of the anxiety is what you're saying? You break that cycle of...
You have to break a cycle.
The similarity and then all that?
So I'll tell you the book that... so Dr. Gant is her name.
Okay.
Good doctor. I'll say her name right now. Like this, that anybody needs a very good...
Gant, G-A-N-T?
Talk with. Yeah, she's a older British lady, very nice local lady.
Okay.
Very involved with the Rotary Club in town.
Oh, she's local to the area.
Yeah. So I really got lucky because my wife, it's very hard to find a good psychologist to talk to right now. And she was booked. Everyone was booked.
Yeah.
And this is back in August after I had a really bad anxiety attack on our vacation I was telling you about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got in and started talking to her, and it's just been really like pleasant to talk to, like just a pleasant person. Said things that I'd never thought, never heard, just different things. And she recommended this book. It's called the Relaxation and Stress Reduction book. It's a manual, and it's beautiful because you can open it to any chapter.
Yeah.
And each of these chapters is a different subject.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to read it like a book, right? And each thing is particular to different people. Now we all have a part of it in a spectrum, right? Of our different things. So like one of the things you can open up and say, visualization. Visualization. Here's one. Just how to visualize. Meditation. Body scanning, right? These different things that you do. So these are all like tools that you use. So have you seen body scanning? So you realize that where you're, okay, I'm having this worry, this anxiety is coming on me. Instead of thinking about my mental, I'm going to get out of my head and into my body.
Right.
And I'm going to think about my breathing.
Yep.
And I'm going to think about, right? So these are just a tool, right?
Sure.
Every person's got a different anxiety trigger. It's triggering them, right? And,
multiple,
right.
too. Yeah.
And it can be a state of perpetual like worry, where you're like, I'm forgetting something.
Right.
I'm forgetting something, right?
Yeah.
It can be an immediate thing, right? Like the car just broke down. He's not gonna be able to get to school tomorrow. I'm gonna lose my job, and it just snowballs into this massive thing, right? That's where we compound the simplest problem.
Right.
So you can. Those are two separate things, and both those things can come on at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So you can have multiple things attacking you, right? So and that's what they are. It's an attack, right?
Yeah.
You're physically being attacked now by your mind.
Right.
Remember what I said? You're a character.
Which wouldn't that be a mental attack, not a physical attack, though?
Yeah, but it's physically attacking you. Your mind
feels physical.
Your mind is physically attacking you
right.
because it's making your body physically react.
Correct. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's an attack.
But not in the same way as if someone actually took a knife or a bat and started beating you with it. Because the attack your mind's going to have on your physicality is not going to be...
It could kill you. It can kill you.
You think so?
It can kill you. Yeah. It could kill you.
Anxiety could actually kill you, is what you're saying.
It could kill you. Yeah. Oh,
really?
Oh, it kill you. Yeah, it shuts you down, man. It'll kill you. Give you a heart attack. You all kinds of things. You can physically die from having these attacks. Like you can die. It damages you. It damages.
Now, see that's something that I've read the opposite of.
So really?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you, like the first one I had. You can tell me if I could have died.
Okay. How old were you?
The very first one I had, I was 40. I just turned 42. So this is...
So this is very recent for you then, in your life.
Yeah. The mega... So I've reached the megaplex of anxiety attacks and panic attacks.
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from a... Like we just talked about. What makes an opinion have anything like... Oh, because I had it happen to me multiple times and I could tell you what happened to me, right? Now, this is for you, not maybe. If you can garner something from it, good.
Sure, yeah.
The first one where I was like, something's wrong, right? Obviously, I had the worry, I had all these things, I had the stress, all these things. Dealt with that my whole life.
Yeah.
I've had a high-stress job, managing things, and under the gun, under time crunches. It has to be done in this amount of time. All these things, all that stuff. Dealing with that, did everything, all the breathing, all that kind of stuff, for years and years. I'm in the shower. You tell me if it can kill you.
Okay.
I'm in the shower, taking a shower. We're doing a job. It's City Pismo at the time. And thinking about everything. I'm obsessingly thinking about everything. Keyword right there. Obsessively thinking about everything. That's what we do as...
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Obsessively thinking.
Yep.
In the shower. And the next thing I remember, I'm drowning in a boat. And the water is coming in. I'm capsizing this boat. And I'm underwater. And I cannot breathe. And I reach out of the water. And I grab onto something. And I pull myself out of the water. I was 100% away taking a shower.
You're in the shower. You're not in the bathtub. You're in the shower.
No, I'm in a boat. I'm drowning.
In a boat?
In a boat now. It's capsizing. Okay. And I
but you started in the shower.
I'm in the shower.
Okay.
I realized, no, I'm not in a boat, right?
Okay.
I'm just drowning because I have fallen now.
Okay.
And hit my head, and I'm in the bottom of the shower, and I'm underwater.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I get up, and I'm sitting, I'm bracing myself, trying not to fall, and I got a little cut in the blood, but so can you die from them?
Well, I mean, so
the answer is yes. That's
well,
simple.
Well, see, I guess I should elaborate more on what I'm saying is it's not the anxiety that's killing you. It's the anxiety causes you to walk off a cliff. Like if you have a panic attack when you're walking next to a cliff and you have a panic attack and you fall off the cliff because the panic attack scares you or whatever. Yeah, we could say the panic attack killed you, but what actually killed your body was falling off the cliff. You could have had that same panic attack on not near a cliff and you would have been fine.
Would you have lived if you didn't have a panic attack?
Yes.
All right.
But my point is, it's not the panic attack that's killing you.
Right.
Because you could have that in a safe environment. If you weren't in the shower, if you were sitting on the couch and you had that exact same panic attack that you had in the shower, you wouldn't have fell and hit your head.
Sure.
Right. Maybe. So it's the fall and hit. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Like it can potentially lead to that depending on what circumstance you're
driving
in.
On the road.
Correct. Yes. Good point. Yes. But when you learn to deal with the panic attacks. Yeah, that's what you're learning, right? You're learning. So even if you are driving in the car, you're not going to crash. You're not going to do. You learn how to because when it first starts happening, you're scared to death. You think you're dying. You don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. So it's scary. So I mean, I could see if I had my first panic attack, I'm driving down the freeway, I might freak out and pull the wheel and go rolling off the cliff and cause a 5-car pileup or something. Who knows? You know? Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely could kill you.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. If you're reading books that say it can't kill you, get a different book.
Yeah, well, the deal is like, because one of the fears with anxiety, like for me growing up, is death.
Yes.
And you fear passing out, you fear that you can't breathe, like all these different things. But what I learned through CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, that kind of stuff, is that exactly. Which is you learn that even though you feel like you're going to pass out, you're not. You feel like you're going to die, you're not. It's a fear. It's an irrational fear that is not a reality, to where these anxiety symptoms are designed by God to happen when you're being chased by an axe murderer, or you're being like, you're in actual danger. These anxiety that they say fight or flight, right? Mm-hmm. That's natural, that's normal, but with someone with anxiety disorder, that thing's going off at times when it shouldn't be going off.
And you're reacting to it.
Correct. And your body is still dealing with it as if you're in a life or death situation when you're not in a life or death situation.
Yeah. So that's why we're getting to this. So this is why this is so important to recognize this. Like, okay, this is hurting me when this happens.
Sure.
Like, you can't allow this to continue happening.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
The character you're playing currently in your brain is making this happen because your brain controls your reaction to whatever is happening that's the cue for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that could be true of even actual physical ailments. If
you find out you have cancer, right? Your mind and your brain is going to decide either I'm going to go into a depression over this, or I'm going to see it and say, oh, hey, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, you brought that up perfectly right here. So this is where that really comes into the how you look at irrational beliefs, right, and ideas, refuting them. Yeah.
Yes.
And so you said it right there, the irrational ideas.
Yeah.
So every minute of your conscious life, you engage in self-talk. We're always talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Consistently. Yep. Like, that's how we think.
Yep.
Like, isn't that a question they say? Like, how do you think? You think yourself in pictures? Do you think of yourself in sentences? Do you think of yourself? So everybody has their own little difference.
Yeah.
Like, some people visualize some picture and then a sentence or something, right? But when you tell me a thing, I typically, my personality, I relate it to another thing that I've done in the past, so I can easily catch on to what you're doing, right? What you're saying.
Sure.
If there's something I can't relate it to, then I'm like,
right.
That's for me like a mental block till I can make that happen.
Yeah.
What's that like? Oh, okay. Some people, they don't need that at all. Some people are different types of learners. I'm like a kinetic person. You can show me a thing, I can do it.
Okay.
Because I can relate it to something else.
Right? Okay.
Other people, totally different.
Yeah.
All those things, your personality, play into how you're going to deal with your anxiety. That's why I say it's very personal.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just each. There's no like, hey, this is the Band-Aid, fixes it
There's
for
no
everyone.
one size fits all. Yeah.
You got to find it out for yourself.
Right.
So it really takes a lot of self-reflection, which I think is why God gives it to us. Like that, I'll just say that right at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're 40 now. Usually most people are in their mid-age when they really start getting it right. Now I'm going to let you really reflect on yourself. I'm going to give you a bunch of anxiety. So you can reflect in.
Right.
So this thing of like not looking inward, I don't totally agree with that. I think we need to look inward sometimes, right? God wants us to look inward sometimes, right?
Yeah.
We look up first to find Him.
Sure.
And then we have to dive in, right, with Him,
Right.
Because like He is in us too. Where's the kingdom of God? In men.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the Holy Spirit?
Right.
Where's the fire? Where was the light of God?
Yeah.
In men, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, saved man, but yeah.
Well, no, when you're born, what ignites the life inside of you?
You think the Holy Spirit's inside?
Well, the spark all comes from God, right?
Life comes from God, of course. But to say indwelt by the Holy Spirit, that's different. But that's not what we're talking about anyway.
No.
We could go on so many different tangents.
So, but the refuting of the irrational. So now we say, okay, so I'm always self-talking, all right? And the sentences that I describe and interpret in my world, right? That's my self-talk, right? So I can accurately be in touch with reality, and I can function well if I have good self-talk. If I say, oh, Ryan made this delicious drink. Oh, this tastes very good.
Yeah.
Chai, I like chai.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into some chai.
There you go.
Right.
That's good. This is all good moves. Yes, this is.
I'm going to add this.
I'm in favor of this.
To my new drinking list. I love chai. So, but that's an example of. But then an example of irrational self-talk is I can't bear to be alone. Right? Like you've already spoken this absolute, and I love this line. I'll put this here, and man, it is so true.
Yeah.
I love that line in Star Wars, right? In the third one, when he says,
Episode 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does he say?
I don't know.
He says,
I don't even know who the character you're talking about is.
He says, I try to remember. Oh, what did he say? He says, that's an absolute. And he says, only the Sith speak in absolutes.
Oh.
Right? Remember that part?
Yeah.
And I think that's so true that we have to recognize that in ourselves and in everyone else when we say, I always, or you always, or we this, or that. Whenever we speak in an absolute thing, we're boxing it into, this is the way it is.
Yeah.
And there's always so many variables, no, you don't do it all the time, but sometimes, right, but
sure.
The reality is that, like, we should not speak, and we should not I should not say, Ryan is always going to be bald. Like, you may grow your hair out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's some things that could be absolutes, right?
Absolutely.
But some things are not. So the things that are not, we shouldn't speak as if they are absolutes.
No, opinions, we shouldn't speak.
Correct. Absolutely.
For sure,
yes.
right?
Yes.
For sure, because that gives the kids that causes the problems later. Because then they think this thing that you said was an absolute. Yeah. You may not even think it's an absolute later, and they've grown their whole life thinking it. Right. And
like pineapple on pizza. You say pineapple belongs on pizza. That's an absolute truth, and then they go on with that, and they meet somebody who hates it on pizza, and they're like, "What's wrong with this guy?
What's wrong with you?"
Yeah. And it causes all these issues,
So so we should never use the phrase "you should never." Allows for the possibility of a flaw in the future. Mm-hmm. And when we inevitably build flaws, right, in the future, it's going to cause anxiety, right? So if we say something like an irrational thing like, I should never be cruel to my child, that's just immoral, right? Why would I be cruel to my child?
Yeah.
If I am, then I'm just a rotten person.
Yeah.
And then this phrase, I should never. So now I have a flaw built in there. And when an inevitable quarrel comes about, like, why are you home late? Why didn't you clean your room? Whatever it might be. Now I'm going to indict myself after and feel bad. Like, I'm a horrible person. I can't believe I told them to do that, to clean their room, whatever it is, right? And now they're mad at me. Yeah. And I'm using this as the silliest example.
Well, but you might be a horrible person in that scenario.
But all of the basic...
right?
Yep. So... Base of a single instant. The irrational idea is based on the misconception, right? On that misconception of that. Okay. So I could say the same thing, like, man, the plane wing is shaking. Oh God, we're gonna fall out of there. We're all gonna die.
Yeah. Right.
Have this irrational reaction to the plane,
which escalates until you're freaking out and they have to land the plane early because you're having a panic attack. Yeah.
And NSA's in there, whoever it is. Who is it now? The air marshals that get you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they just throw you off with a parachute.
They tackle you in the back. And it's not good. They tie you up. So,
but hang on, this is interesting. So, do you think there's any time like I know you said, what was the word you used? I should never something to my kids. What was the word you used?
It says be cruel.
Be cruel to.
Be cruel to my kids.
Okay, and that's kind of subjective, right? Cruel could be something to someone else, someone not. But you could say, I should never abuse my child, right? You could make that statement and you'd be correct, right? Mm-hmm. And if you did in the future abuse your child, you would be in the wrong. Yeah. And I don't think there'd be anything wrong in acknowledging that you're in the wrong.
It's so tough to say what is what they would view as abuse, right? Because we can look at a same situation from multiple views and see how each person's abused.
Yeah, maybe abuse is a wrong word too, because you're right. That can be taken different ways.
Yeah, anybody can be an abused person.
I should never take a sledgehammer and hit my kid in the head with it.
And you should never do that.
Correct. So that's an absolute. We could say that, and that's true. And if I did do that, I would be totally in the wrong, and I should acknowledge I'm in the wrong. I should probably go to jail. Right. So what you're referring to is more things that aren't absolute statements, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah,
right.
Well, obvious thing, like, right? That you would think, okay, I should. If we say I should never, then it should be something that you should never. Mm-hmm. Right? Like,
it should be absolutely true.
And the book just used I should never.
I got you. Yeah, I follow you. I'm asking questions.
It gives you 20 other examples of different things, right?
Yeah.
So, but as we say these things and we use them, right, we have to stop ourselves and go to a rational idea, which obviously you said refuting irrational ideas, so you're familiar with this.
Right.
So you have to stop yourself. Yeah. And the way that works, right, is we have between the event that happened, right? This event happened, whatever it is. This fell on the floor, this broke, the car got a flat tire, whatever it is, right? Between that event, which is real, right? We have an emotion to that event, which is real. Yeah. And then we have self-talk over that event. Okay. And that's the part we control, right? Mm-hmm. So we have self-talk. The self-talk then increases or decreases the emotional response that we just had. That was real. We had an emotional response. Yeah. That's real. Sure. Right? If you dump that over, I'm like, oh man, screwing this computer, right? Yeah. Like, I'm going to have a response to that, and I'm going to feel it's something. Right. How, now, with my self-talk, I feel about that after I control, right? Yeah. So, your own thoughts directed and controlled by you are what create anxiety, anger, and the depression. So he calls the system, this guy Elias is his name, he kind of developed it in 1975 in his book, so I'll note it here, with his co-author Robert Harper, A Guide to Rational Living in 1975, originally published in 61.
Okay.
Rational emotive behavior therapy. So stressing that people's actions as well as their emotions are influenced by their ideas. The image below shows how it works. So you got the environmental event, cognitive perception, that's your sensory input, right? That you're, okay, I just saw this thing that happened.
Yeah.
And then interpretation, self-talk, rational ideas, like what's rational of what just happened, what's irrational, what's rational,
Right.
like, and then
So
how
let's
I'm
pick
going
an
to
exact,
respond to it.
Pick an example. Pick something like an actual thing. Like you can go to the plane wing shaking, or you could say, like, I want to hear that played out. Like if we pick an actual circumstance where you see something and it causes this irrational thought.
So a mechanic replaces the fuel pump on a car, right? This is a very good example.
Okay.
The mechanic replaces the fuel pump because he thinks that that's what's the problem with the car, right? And he's a professional.
Right.
He replaces it, and it does not fix it. Still has a problem, right? And that was the cheapest part. He's just working down the list.
Sure.
You know how a mechanic works.
Of course.
But the customer, of course, comes in and says, what?
You ripped me off.
That didn't fix it. You ripped me off.
Right.
I want that old one back on, and I want my car fixed, right?
Right.
Now, how do you respond? This just happened.
As the mechanic, you
As the
mean?
mechanic.
Well, you'd think you'd have to explain to him the way it works, right? The way that the reason why you start at the cheapest. You get a diagnostic, it's going to tell you the number. The number could be one of 15 things. You're going to start with the cheapest and go from there.
Yeah,
Right.
you can explain it to him. And he could still be like
he could still be a jerk, right? Yeah.
grouchy or whatever.
Yeah.
So in your mind, you can look at it like this. The mechanic goes like this. Man, that guy's a grouch. Like nothing's going to please this guy, right? That's one. And then I go, why do I get all the tough jobs? Like I always get the tough jobs.
Right.
So now it's like this guy's a problem, and now I'm the victim, and I'm always the victim, right?
Yeah.
And then we say, God, am I even any good at this? I should have figured this out. He's right. I should have figured this out by now. I'm not even a good mechanic. Like, what am I doing here?
And you're defeated. Yeah.
And now you've accepted all that, and it's just like, God, man, what do I do? So now you go on, you feel angry, resentment to that guy, right? Depression, because you're like, I'm worthless.
Yeah.
And then you go on, and you got this knot in your stomach, and all day now, you got a headache because you're stressed out over this. You're like, whatever, man. And you go ahead and replace the guy's, put the old fuel pump back on. And then the rest of the day, I'm short-tempered with everyone.
Right.
Aren't you?
And then they all have to deal with you now.
Like, I don't know. Oh, you fix it, right?
Right.
Last guy I fixed, I had to do it twice, right? Like, you're just mad.
Yeah.
Right? And then from there, you go on, what do? You go home.
Yeah.
And what do you get home?
To your family.
Your wife says, blah, blah, blah. What? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me?
Yeah.
Right? And now she's like, well, that was very...
Like, what's your problem, buddy? Yeah.
What's wrong? Right now, like, nothing's wrong. Why do you think something's wrong? Like, now it's just like round 2.
Yeah. Just
round
escalates.
3, round 4.
Yeah.
So you just take it and you carry it with you all day. And all you did, because of your irrational self-talk, it just led on this road to produce anger and resentment, and everyone else is mad at you now.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you could have said, man, that guy really made me mad. But it's not really the customer's fault. He doesn't understand the car. And I shouldn't allow him to get me mad about that.
Right.
I have put this back on. If it's my business, I'm going to take the loss today.
Sure.
Or if I'm the worker, like, I'm not going to look good. Boss ain't going to be happy. Right. But I have to say, man, I really thought that was going to fix it. I apologize. And I'll make it right. And but at the end of the day, what did he not do? He said, you know what I say, and he might feel bad at first, but if he's just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I got to let this go.
Yes.
I cannot let this continue to eat at me.
Yep.
Because everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
Even you make mistakes, Cort.
Yeah.
Even you make mistakes.
Right.
And you know what you need to do? You need to show yourself some grace right now because you make mistakes.
Sure. Yeah.
Everyone does.
Nobody's
Cort.
perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
and you made a mistake, and it's okay. And you made the mistake right for this guy. You put it back on.
Yeah.
You didn't fix his car, and he doesn't want you to work on it anymore. So you can't do anything else. You've done everything you can do because he won't allow you to.
Right.
And you have to accept that and move on with your day.
Yeah.
And now I saved making all my coworkers mad at me for being short to them all day, right?
Yeah, and your wife and your kids. And
I go home.
Else, yeah.
They don't know anything that even happened because
Right,
I didn't bring
right.
it home with me.
Yeah.
I left it at work. I left it at the door right there. I never even let it grab onto me because I just, whatever, man.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to deal with that situation,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And that's easier said than done, of course, right? You and I both know, like,
Yeah.
that's really hard. Because then tonight I'm going to go home and I'm going to lay in bed. I'm going to obsess over it if I allow myself to, huh?
Yep.
Can't believe that guy did. I did good today, though. I let it pass, but I'm going to sit here and obsess over it tonight and not be able to sleep now.
Right.
And I'm going to keep it with me. Or I just let it go, right?
Yeah.
And I realize that every single day I'm going to face something like this.
Sure.
And it's by design. Like God's giving me this stuff.
Right.
And it's my job to find out why. Not my job to get angry. Not my job to have anxiety.
Right.
My job to find out,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, so do you think, is there certain situations like the one we just described in a hypothetical with the mechanic in your own life that led up to your first big panic attack? Have you figured that out for yourself yet?
Yeah,
or you're
yeah.
okay.
Well, for myself, right, like and we can it gets much I really wanted to like try to stay
Yeah.
in the book so that if someone listening to this can come back and make cognizance, because I weave like Trump. Okay, I love that. I love that he said that because I understood exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, he
Okay.
does do that. I don't necessarily like Trump, but I'm just saying
Right.
that's how I speak. So
Yeah.
you give me 4 hours at the end of it, you listen
Sure.
to it, you'll get it. You'll be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he came back and he touched on everything.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then
Yeah.
man, you're like, what was he even trying to say?
Right.
Oh, was he trying to say? And you can read into
Yeah.
things and opinion. You can think
Yeah.
opinions on my opinions and whatever, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
matter. But if we stay in this,
but then anecdotal is helpful
Right.
in a sense. I mean, yeah, we don't have to spend forever on it, but I know if, like for me, like when I started first having anxiety symptoms when I was 13.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were. I was in and out of the emergency room. Something wrong with my brain. Something's wrong with my heart. I'm going crazy. I'm doing this. I can't breathe. All these different symptoms, all this stuff. They do all the tests. Nothing's wrong with him, which was frustrating. You know, it's like, no, something's wrong with me. No, everything's fine. So I did that for years. It wasn't until I was 33 when I realized somebody said, hey, I think you might be having anxiety and panic disorder.
Right.
So I started looking at that. I have not that book, but I have a similar book that really, and I also did talk therapy.
Yeah.
And for me, putting kind of those scenarios in the book and those hypothetical situations into my own life, I'm like, oh, that's what happened to me. That was the start of my healing because for the longest time you feel like there's nobody on the planet that's dealing with this, just me. I'm the only one that's going nuts. I'm losing my mind. I'm just going to continue to go crazy till I'm on a street corner somewhere. Don't know my name. My whole family's going to leave. All these irrational fears again, right? And you just think worst case scenario. So that was the start of my healing, was to be like, oh, no, this is common. A lot of people struggle with this. Wow, look at even some of these weird symptoms I had that I'm like, no way does anybody else have this. Here's 100 people that describe it in detail. Exactly what I'm dealing with, So, I mean, that for me was the start of all of it. And then I was able to start doing the talk therapy, the cognitive behavioral therapy, and looking into those ways and developing tools to deal with the anxiety as it came. Because for me, a lot of times it wasn't really anything specifically stressful in my life that was doing it. And that's what was always frustrating me. People say, well, Ryan, just, stop stressing about that. Or why? I said, dude, there's no stress in my life. Yeah. Everything's going great right now. I'm walking around and everything's great. Sky's blue and everything's looking good. And then, boom, hardcore panic attack. It's like, what? Where'd that come from? Yeah. It's out of nowhere, and that's what was frustrating. So,
yeah. So, like you said, it opens up the past.
Yeah.
Where you realize it, like, it wasn't here. The point was, like, you think, oh, it was obviously I was stressed for 6 months. This happened, that happened, and boom, that's why. But then you start realizing, no, it's all the way back here when I was 13, whatever, because those things I was doing were escapes from anxiety, and you didn't realize it at the time, right?
Sure.
You didn't realize that was your coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super interesting, right? Because then you can really go back and start like, okay, I need to fix these real like issues that we've swept under the rug.
Yeah,
like when someone says, and you just walk away. If you're that kind of person, you know, some people are like, oh, they say something I don't like, I walk away.
Right.
Well, so you've never learned to deal with someone saying something constructive
because you run from it.
Because you run. See, these are all, and we call these safety habits.
Yeah, exactly.
What talks about it.
Yep.
That's really what I wanted to get to on this. Okay. I thought we'd get to it later, but we'll get to it. The symptoms, the effect, and this, but it's these safety habits that we put in there, right? That get us to be successful.
Yeah.
They get us through college. They get us through our career. They get us through. It's the double check, the triple check to make sure that this is online, that this is ready, that that's going to happen on, that these guys are going to be at work, that this, that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All these safety things. Check the schedule twice. Look at this. And they're great, right? And we get going in our 30s, and it's like, man, I'm really making leadway here with all the... Mm-hmm. And then you realize that it's these safety things later that are causing the anxiety.
Right, yeah.
Because now I didn't check the thing, and that's why it's going to all fall apart.
Right.
I didn't, right?
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to do all my safety things.
Right.
And
my favorite analogy of that, real quick, is the nail in your heel. You have a nail stuck in your heel, and somebody's like, "Oh, here." Yeah, right. That's the right solution, but you don't. You put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
You take aspirin. You get a shot, and you numb all around the area. So you're temporarily fixing the problem, but you still have a nail in your foot.
Yeah.
You got to remove the nail from your. That's the only solution, and that's the way I feel about like anxiety medications, all that.
Yes.
I'm like, look, if that's what you need to get to the end goal, fine.
Yeah.
But you need to realize that anxiety medication is not the end-all answer. That is not going to fix your problem, right? You're still going to have a nail in your foot when you come down off the anxiety medication.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah, anyway.
So that, like you just were saying, it's like taking those safety things, and as we go back here, there is a whole chapter on how to deal with that. And what you have to do, you systematically put those safety factors in place in your life, whether you realize it or not. That's what you did. You relieving worry and anxiety.
Yeah.
Into that.
And most of the time you don't realize you're doing that.
Right. It was like, this didn't work out today. I should do this. And then you do that and you're like, oh, it worked out. I'm going to do this all the time.
Yes.
So you do this all the time.
Yeah, I found the solution.
20 years go by. You always do that.
Yeah.
And you didn't do that. And then... Right now, I have all this anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got to do that, or it's gonna fall apart.
And that's like the obsessive part you're talking about.
Obsessing. Yeah. As opposed to you have to take, and maybe this should be for people over 40, right? Because I think that's why we don't say this to kids, because you can't tell kids this, because they need to like strap your boots on and get to work, boy, because they're gonna be lazy. They're gonna gravitate to that.
Yes.
No, you gotta work. You gotta get out there and do it. And then after 20 years of that, when you have all this anxiety, you can come back and we'll address it. Right?
Yeah.
But we can't deal with it till then, or you'll end up growing up lazy.
Sure.
But you have to go in and reassess all these systems now, and you have to start taking them out. And you take out, and you see the tomorrow fall apart. Did the sky fall? Right? No, it didn't. I didn't need that. You can leave that out now.
And the more times that happens...
And you can move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, okay, there's a safety thing. Do I need that?
Yeah.
Let me pull it out. Oh, I knew I needed that, right? I needed that one. I needed that one. Okay, let's keep going. And that's how we have to assess this. And it's all constant, right?
Right.
It's through the process of the remainder of our life on Earth. We're going to do this. We're going to systematically assess. And there's where your peace is. Because as you can assess and remove these things and really have trust in God, right? This is okay. Right. This is what you want me to do. Like you want me to have trust in you, not trust in my systems I've put in place, because that's what we've done, right? And we can say, well, God put those systems. He made me smart enough to figure it out, and that's why I put those systems. And you're right. Yeah. And it got you through your 20s and 30s. Great. Right. But it's killing you now. Yeah. What are you going to do? Right. It's killing you now. I just proved to you it will kill you. It's killing you now. No, but it is.
Yeah.
You don't know when you're going to have a panic attack.
That's
You
true.
don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to be at Walmart, walking down the aisle, have a
Right.
panic attack, turn the corner, slip, fall, hit your head, and die.
Yeah.
You don't know.
That's true.
And if you've had a panic attack, you know very well that could happen.
Yeah.
Because you've had them. You know.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
My God, right?
Yeah.
You're in the
Yeah.
fetal position on the ground,
Right.
having a full-on panic attack, right?
Yeah.
Anything can happen,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that makes your character inside go, I need to do something.
Right.
And we need to take some parts out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We need to remove some pieces here because it's mental. We already proved that too, right? It's in my brain.
Right.
It's my brain is reacting in my fight or flight, like we said, and it's taking me to level 10, DEFCON 10.
Yep.
And we're only at DEFCON 2.
Yeah.
Why am I going to 10?
Yeah.
And that's how we can start adjusting that.
Sure.
So it's all these spectrums, right? So we start addressing our safety net, right? Okay, I didn't need that, didn't that. And then we start addressing the level of severity of each of these things. Like, okay, I need to start rating these things then, right? So if a 10 is like, I die, right? Because that's the end all, right? I die and my family dies. That's the end all. Okay?
Right.
That's the worst,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then we work down from there. Where are we really at on this?
Yeah.
Oh, we're about a 3. Right?
And then you realize, yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
so we can really put this in, and we say this, but you and I both know we have to do it. You have to, and your mind works for you. It works for you. Like you control your mind until the point you stop controlling your mind.
Right.
And then your mind will take over, right?
Sure.
And if you let it take over and run the course long enough, like you say, worldly,
Right.
usually you end up in prison or dead, right?
Yeah.
Because you're just living like an animal.
Right.
Yeah? And we can't live like that, yeah?
Right.
We have to control our mind.
Right.
It works for us.
Yeah. So how easy is that to do though, do you think? Like we
If
say
you use
control
a
the mind.
systematic approach, right?
Okay.
That's why I like this book. It says it gives you a systematic approach. If
Yeah.
you're like me, you've been looking for a systematic approach to this.
Sure.
As opposed to like God reveals so much to me, right? But God's never revealed to me a systematic approach. Like He's used other things to reveal systematic approach, right?
Right.
But like, wherein has He said systematically, Ryan, this is the course that you will take in your life.
Right.
You will be saved because you will find Christ. After you're saved, I will do a work inside of you and then renew you, bring you, right? And then you're going to have the Holy Spirit come into you, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And you're going to be on fire for me. You're going to go out and preach the gospel, right? Yeah? Where does He say it in just like a paragraph like that? Nowhere, right? Nowhere. When you read the whole Bible, you understand that that's the context. That's what that's
Right.
the whole message, right?
Yes.
This-
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But you read the Bible. Where, like, give me the PowerPoint, right? Because that's what we need to deal with the immediate anxiety attack right now.
Right.
Like, I can't just sit and read the whole Bible right now, right? I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm having it now. I need
Yeah.
a systematic ABC because
Right.
my mind can only deal with about 3 things right now. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of this,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's why I say it's a beautiful systematic approach to how to take the things out of your life you don't need systematically and add the things that you do need, right? To dealing with okay, this is happening. It's irrational. What is rational? That's an ad, right? A rational
Right.
thought.
Right.
Okay? That's a rational thought. It's an irrational thought. Now I can separate the two. But if I don't have 2 points of reference, how do I?
Right, and that's where the self-talk comes in, like you're saying. Like I've always heard him say, you almost have to convince yourself that irrational fear is not rational.
Yes.
Because when you're in the midst of
It seems
panic,
rational.
it's right, exactly.
It's so rational, right?
But when you start talking to someone else about it or whatever, they're like, dude, that's not going to happen. Like the chances
like,
of that
dude,
happening are like
yeah.
slim to none, you know. And but when you're dealing with that high anxiety, it's like, no, it's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen.
It's
You know what I
already
mean?
happened in your
Yeah.
mind.
So you have to use like truth, like you have to attack it with truth. Like for
Yes.
example,
Truth.
a lot of people have a fear of flying, right? I've never had this one ever, which is weird because people with anxiety, it's one of the biggest ones. I've never had a fear of flying. But if you did, you have a fear of flying, your thoughts are what? You're going to crash. The plane's not going to land. The landing gear is not going to come down. You're going to go in the ocean. Whatever, right? You see all these. You've seen it. You've seen it happen on TV. You've seen it in the movies. All this stuff, and it does happen, right? But then, as you're having those irrational thoughts, if you know what to do, you're able to look at statistics. Mm-hmm. What are the odds on this plane crashing? And you look at that statistic. Then you look at what are the odds on my car crashing on the way to work every day?
Yeah.
And you see that the chances of the car is astronomically higher than the plane.
Yeah.
So then when you see that truth, it helps the logical part of your brain start to counteract the emotional panic attack side of the brain, that's irrational thought side, to say, okay, why do I think this is not true? Like, this is just not... Yes, it's possible, right? Anything's possible. I could be walking down the street, a meteor could hit me. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's not likely, you know? So
like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the answer. That's your safety net.
You think so?
Yeah.
Talking the truth to yourself?
Says. That's what it's... Well, no, not necessarily the truth, but that you had to go look at the statistics.
Yeah.
That's your safety net.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, so it says not to do that.
Really?
Yeah, it says don't go look at that. Just say, That's what you want to get to.
You mean to where you just don't care if you die?
Well, that's
because you take the legs out.
You just say that can't happen.
Well, that wouldn't be true though.
It is, but see,
you say that can't happen about a plane crashing. It can happen.
But see, that's the opposite of that's going to happen.
Right, and that's also not true.
Yeah.
So neither thing is true. That can't happen, and that will happen.
And it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
And you can be anywhere on that.
Sure, but then again, the rational,
so your safety
reality
net says the odds. I'm going to check.
Yeah.
They're about here.
Yeah.
That's reality.
Right.
I can deal in reality.
Mm-hmm.
I was dealing in not reality. I'm going to die and I'm going to fall.
Right.
I can continue to deal in non-reality. I'm not going to die.
Right.
Who cares?
Well, see, who cares is different than I'm not going to die. See, the who cares I agree with, because that's the whole point, right? Because anxiety is completely run by fear. Mm-hmm. Usually a fear of death, whatever kind of death it is, right? It always comes down to death or pain. Because I've always said, especially as a believer, I'm not scared to die. I'm scared of pain.
I'm scared of dying painfully.
When I die, I just want to be, boom, I'm gone.
I don't want to die
boom, in the presence of the Lord. There I am, right?
I don't want to be suffocated, drowned.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many terrible ways to do it, right? But if you can get to the point where, like Paul says, to live is Christ, to die is gain. If you can actually live your life every single day with that philosophy, anxiety is non-existent. Because if you literally don't care if you live or die, like you just don't care. You're like, yeah, I could die right now. Okay, fine, whatever. Yeah. Or even back in the days of Paul, like, well, yeah, I could get crucified. Yeah, they could boil me in acid. Yeah, sure, whatever's. Okay, I guess that's what the Lord has planned for me. I trust Him. Like, if we could really get to that point, anxiety would be non-existent in our lives, right?
Sounds good, huh?
Ultimately, yeah, it does.
It sounds good. But I'm going to tell you what, you wouldn't be morally good if you did that.
I wouldn't be morally good if I had no fear of death?
Not at all.
Okay, how so?
What about your family? What about them? You owe it to your wife. You owe it to your kids. So like I said...
Well, that's a fear too, though.
Any view that you view it, like from any perspective...
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't even care. Look at him. He just goes around. He doesn't even take care of his family. Doesn't even, see what I'm saying? So from any perspective, you can look like you don't care. You can look like... So what I'm saying, you can't keep anyone happy.
Yeah, but ultimately, don't you want to get to a point as a Christian where you also trust the Lord with your family?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Completely.
At the end of the day, like, it's not your family, right?
Right.
At the end of the day...
So even then...
At the end of the day, that's another reason that causes anxiety. Like, I always wonder about that. Like, that's a whole other...
Yeah.
Whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Like, because that's... Man, that really does build a lot of anxiety.
It's terrible.
That.
Because I paint in scenarios like
if someone replaced like that.
If someone kidnapped me and they were torturing me, that'd be terrible, right? Mm-hmm. But I think to myself, I might be able, because you hear those stories like, oh, we're going to torture you unless you deny Christ. Unless you deny Christ. I think, I don't know. I've never been in the circumstance. I'm not considered to say I know what would happen. But somewhere in my mind, I think I might be able to do that. Just trust the Lord. Get through that,
You wouldn't be able to
whatever.
If they were going to kill your kids.
Yes! If that were one of my kids and they're torturing him in front of me, I'm like, I'll say whatever you want me to say.
Yeah. You're not gonna
whatever you want me to say,
You're not going to let them slit your child's throat in front of you.
So that's
You're just not.
Yeah, there's no way.
Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what...
Right.
you think your believing status is that you're the one?
Right, yeah. I am Neo.
Because if you did let them slit your child's throat in front of you for that,
yeah,
like, do you really? I don't know, man. We got to ask other questions then.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're psychotic, right?
Right.
Like maybe it's not God at all in you. You're just psycho.
Yeah.
Right? So there's got to be other questions.
Well, what about that guy in Scripture who said, Lord, when I get home, the first thing that greets me, I'll sacrifice it. And then his daughter comes out of the door. Hi, Daddy. No, and then he went through with it. And even his daughter's like, no, Dad, you have to do this. You told God. You promised God.
That's crazy.
Right? It's like, dude, what in the world? Like, there's just, I'm like, there's no way.
Points, yeah.
I would still be like, no. She'd be like, no, you have to do this. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. I said I would do it. I guess I'll just go to hell for eternity.
So we have to definitely use like I said, like our brain in the regard of what makes sense, right? Because morally, it can be right from any one of these perspectives,
Right.
Right. Now, obviously, God's moral perspective is number one, but I could say give you a situations where you could go, oh man, like that's a tricky one, because that would be morally right for you to do that for your wife, but morally wrong for this, or morally right but morally wrong for these people. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Who's more important than who now, right? Because now we're at that point. Like, now we're picking and choosing who's the most important here, right? You know, or whatever, right? So there's a lot of things like this. So it's not that's not cut and dry like that, right? You have to really use discernment.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And that's why just like some of the things that we think are answers, and then we're like, oh yeah, but no, that.
Right.
Well, that might not actually be a thing.
Sure.
You've made that a thing, right?
Yeah. So how do you respond to people who, and I've dealt with this a lot, there's two things they'll say. If they don't know I'm a believer, let's just say that they don't know anything about me, and they know that I deal with anxiety, and I kind of explain what's going on to them. I'm scared of this, or irrational fears, whatever, right? These symptoms I'm having. And a lot of times their response is, well, it's anxiety. It's all in your head. Just get over it.
Yeah.
It's all in your head, man. Just get over it. You know? And whenever anybody says that, that tells me they've never dealt with it.
Had it. Yeah.
They don't understand, right?
They've had some stress.
Yeah. It's like as if it was that easy, you don't think I would have just done that already?
Stressed out. Yeah.
Right? And then the second thing that's kind of is annoying, even though they're kind of right, is another Christian who will tell me, you're just not trusting the Lord.
You just don't trust the Lord.
Yeah. You need to give it to the Lord, and that's the end of it.
That's not it.
You know? Yeah.
No, I've said in bed, like, pleading to God.
Yeah.
Like, God,
Right.
please.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, whatever I'm doing in my life, it's wrong. Like, please, reveal it to me, show me, whatever.
Yeah.
You can only say that prayer so many times before you start thinking God's not listening to me.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have to realize, nope, that's an irrational thought. God is always listening to me.
Yeah.
So what is it? Oh, I'm just being crazy. I'm doing the same thing over and over.
Right.
I'm sitting here begging God.
Or maybe he just wants you to have the anxiety for now.
Well, like I said,
That's a
he allows
possibility.
us to have the anxiety to what? I really think it's to systematically go through and take the tears out.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he says we have to go through our lives, evaluate what we're doing.
Yeah.
And this is on our what we stand on even. Like, I stand on this. And then he will eradicate those things sometimes. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe for years I believed that, you know?
Yeah.
Fill in the blank. There's many things that I thought were like a biblical thing that I believed.
Right.
Like that women shouldn't teach men. I remember someone had said that. Like it was a big thing at the church for a minute.
I think the Bible says that.
No. Yeah, well, then explain to me why Paul sent Priscilla to teach Apollos. Explain
Phoebe
to me
or Priscilla?
That. Yeah,
Priscilla and
It was a
Aquila?
woman. I'm pretty sure it was Priscilla. Explain.
Well, we have to
There's a
look
lot,
it up.
Right? You can go, but I'm just telling you.
Well, because
There's a
I'm curious
lot.
how that's worded.
Explain to me
Yeah.
how my mom taught me all these things all these years. Explain to me, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems.
Well, that's different. The mom to the son thing is
It
different.
depends on who's different.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. You say that because you just took your moral compass and you're going to diverge which things are okay to be taught and which things aren't. Cool. That's great. But at the end of the day, someone else is going to have their opinion and they're going to say nothing is okay to be taught.
Right.
Only men should teach men, right? The further you get to the Middle East maybe or whatever, right? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why I try
Fill in
to
the blank.
expound just the scripture alone.
Women should not go into the church with their head uncovered. We talked about that last. Whatever, fill in these blanks, right?
Sure.
Whatever. You can become obsessed with that and make that the focus of your Bible journey. Whatever, brother. Yeah. Go for it. I'm not going to, and you don't even bring me into that argument. I don't care. Right? Like they just said, I don't need that anxiety.
Right.
I'm going to deal with that, and that's probably above my pay grade.
Yeah.
So, but I just use that as the example of there are moral conundrums and stuff that has nothing to do. Why do I want to care about that? I have enough anxiety with like the big ones. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I say that because people will take these things and like discount something else you say for this one obscure thing.
Right.
This one obscure, they don't believe like their opinion. It's just your opinion too.
Yeah.
What makes that person's opinion over your opinion? We already said, how much time have you put into studying, researching it? How much experience do you have doing it? That's what makes an opinion worth more value, right?
Well, but let's use that example. Like let's say, and this is hypothetical. Yeah. Let's say we there was a part of Scripture, let's say, that explicitly stated, let's say, women are not allowed to teach Scripture. It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say
I know it doesn't. I'm not saying it does.
Absolutely doesn't say that.
That's why I preface this is hypothetical. Mm-hmm. But let's say it did. If it did, would you think that was important to know and understand? And you'd say, well, that's good to know. You wouldn't chalk it up as like, I'm not going to waste my time with that. Because that's a pretty big deal if that's indeed true, correct?
Well, let's say a thing that is true.
Okay.
Right. Don't be a drunkard.
Yeah.
Don't be a drunkard.
Right.
That means you should not get drunk.
Correct.
You shouldn't drink to where you're drunk.
Yes.
Okay. That's an opinionative statement.
You mean determining what drunk means? At what point you get drunk?
Yeah. So now you say, okay, well, what culture were we in? We were Jewish. Okay. What do the Israelis say? Okay. Anytime that you've had more than like a couple and you're getting a little bit like, now you're drunk.
What we call buzzing. Right, yeah.
Now you're drunk.
Yeah.
Okay. So we used common sense to derive that. We said it says, do not become a drunkard.
Yeah.
And then we used the culture and the time of what they viewed as being drunk.
Sure.
And we said, okay, well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, right?
No, it's a great one. But so you have the two ends of the spectrum. You have sober, which means you haven't had any alcohol, and then you have drunk. Like we're talking like drunk that you know is drunk, right? But then there's this gray area in here where you're like, okay, is this drunk? I don't know. It's not sober, but it's not pants off dancing with a lampshade on your head either. Right. So you're right. Yeah, there's definitely a matter of discernment there that needs to be made for. And I would say,
did God give you that? Did He give you the systematic discernment for that, or does He leave that to the person?
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, right.
I think it's the person who's doing the drinking.
But He didn't explicitly tell you like it is this amount, 56.7 millimeters of right.
Yeah, it's the breath alcohol content.
Right.
No,
he didn't even give you the breathalyzer. He could at least given us a 0.08, right?
Right.
We would have known.
Yeah. But let's say this is the scenario. Let's say here's me. And I hold to the Scripture saying don't be a drunkard, don't get drunk, and I drink, I don't know, a 6-pack every day, okay? And when I drink a 6-pack, I start to act as to what all of my friend group, like all of them, let's say I have 10 great friends I hang out with all the time, every night they're with me, and they have 1 or 2 beers each, and I drink a 6-pack, and to all 10 of them, in their opinion, I'm drunk. And I come in there and say, no, this is up to my own discernment. I'm not drunk. Right. Leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. Right? You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's something to be said for that, too, to where the majority in that case is probably right. I probably am under the guise of drunk, right? At a 6-pack a day. I'm probably not, now I could probably be drunker. I could probably get to the point where I'm literally passed out on the floor or whatever. Sure. There's always more you could do. But it's more likely to think the guy that's had 1 beer or 2 beer, that's a little like, yeah, no. I know some would say even he's drunk. I've met people that say anytime any substance alters your state of mind, that is not being sober-minded.
Sure.
And I was in a discussion one time, and this blew me. This guy said something that kind of, I still think about it. I wasn't even in the conversation. It was my friend and this other guy were talking about this, and my friend made that statement. Anytime that it messes with it, and the other guy says, well, what about caffeine?
Yeah, exactly.
He goes, caffeine alters. Should you never drink any caffeine? He said, I can drink one Dr. Pepper, and it's going to alter my state,
you know? Especially if you don't drink caffeine at all.
Right, exactly. So but then there's that, right? There's that point, too, the good point, because you bring up the tolerance thing. Someone says, well, I can drink 12 beers in a day and I don't get drunk. Yeah, that might be true, but how much did you have to drink to build up that kind of tolerance? You know what I'm saying? To be able to drink 12 beers and have it not affect you? I'm not even buzzed. Well, that means you're probably an alcoholic, dude. I'm sorry. If you're able to drink that much that a 12-pack doesn't even buzz you, that's amazing. You know, It's like that girl from Indiana Jones where she was, she's winning the drinking contest with the guys. She's just like slamming them back.
But to bring it back to the point of it, because we replaced the shouldn't teach one, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the Bible says that.
Yeah.
Right? God says that.
Well, it doesn't say what I said it says. It doesn't say women are not to teach
no,
the Bible. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, sure.
We replace it because it does say that.
Yes.
Not to be a drunkard.
Not to be a drunkard, yeah.
Yeah. So, because your point of the woman not to teach was, right? To bring it back to that.
Yeah.
What was your point?
What was my point about the verse?
Because you read out of the Bible, you were saying...
Well, because I was only saying that my only point I was making there was because you made the statement of somebody saying, well, I'm not going to worry about that kind of stuff. There's bigger fish to fry kind of a deal. Yeah. And my only point was, if the scripture explicitly stated women are not to teach scripture,
right,
and then we're attending a church and here's a woman teaching scripture, do you think we should take that seriously if it is indeed in the script, which it's not?
It doesn't say that. So that's why I said let's replace it with something that does say. So
correct.
It does say do not be a drunkard.
Don't be a drunkard, yeah.
So now, okay, so put that in that context. So now you go to the
church and the pastor's drunk.
The pastor drinks.
Well, drinks is not drunkard. Mm-hmm. That's
right. But we're using this one. This is even a better one.
Yeah.
But he drinks.
Sure. He has a glass of wine with dinner.
Cool.
No problem.
No worries.
No, there's no problem there.
No worries, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Till the day he drinks, right? Then he becomes drunk. And then you're like,
Yeah.
Okay.
If he's acting irrational, if he's very obviously under the influence of a substance, then yes.
So you give him that leeway, right?
Yeah. If I'm hanging out at lunch with my pastor, and this has never happened, but me and Connor are having lunch together and he orders a beer, I'm not going to be through the roof about it like, I can't believe he's had a beer and he's going to hell and blah, blah, blah. No, there's no way. Because I'm like, no, you can have a beer. Mm-hmm. Jesus drank wine.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to say you can never have a glass of wine or a beer or fine, whatever. But, I mean, if you're taking shots of tequila and you're like drinking like that, I don't know. Maybe a margarita might be borderline, but
No, I mean, not joking aside. Maybe he liked tequila, and maybe he has a shot of tequila, right? That is what he likes. Like I don't ever drink. I don't drink.
Sure.
And it's not because I'm like holy.
It is. It's because you're pious.
It's because I'm alcoholic. When I drink. Like,
oh, really? You had an issue before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I drink years and years, and so for me, that's an absolute no.
Right.
There is no
correct
spectrum
for you.
For me.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%. Yes. Something can be okay for one person and not for the next. Mm-hmm. It can be the exact same thing. Because the idea is the addiction, right? The being a slave to something. I can be a slave to video games.
Yeah,
and that can be an issue that I have, right? And you could be like, I don't care about video games. I've never even played them. Who cares? Yeah. And you can play it. It's not a problem for you. I can't because it's going to send me into a month-long thing where I don't go to work and I don't do... I mean, this isn't true. I'm just saying. It's something,
the
right?
battle you face.
Yeah, whatever it may be that's going to take the place of God in your own life. You're going to idolize that thing. You're going to worship that thing because you care so much about it. To the point you're like, oh, I'm not even going to go to church Sunday because I have to stay home and play this, or I have to watch this movie, or whatever, right? Yeah.
So these things that are no, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you have that same thing, you're told, don't do that, right? And when he says, don't worry.
Be happy.
What do you have to have anxiety over, right?
Right. Right.
Be anxious
for nothing.
For nothing.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
we just read that. Let's put that into place. Now what are we doing when we're being anxious?
We're not doing what the Lord told us to do. Right. Disobedience. Yeah.
But he put it there, right? He put that there. So
Well, that-
what does he want us
yeah.
to do with it, right? So that's where...
Well, that's like saying he put the ingredients here for opioids.
Well, no, that's not like that. It's not like that at all. It's like saying that he set you down and he gave you communion. You cannot drink, but you just had a glass of wine, right?
Oh, okay. Little tiny one.
But here it is.
Yeah.
The anxiety is here on your front porch. It's sitting at your feet.
Right.
Be anxious for nothing,
Yeah.
right? And I'm saying, God, take this from me. I don't want it. But it's still there. We still have to deal with it as men. And he puts that there for us to deal with.
Yeah. Just like any struggle.
It doesn't go away, right? So that's,
Sure.
I think that's the most important piece for your listeners, for everyone to recognize. Like, just because you've prayed and because he does do that. Like he's did that. Like, that's why I loved it. That's why I used alcohol as the example.
Sure.
He did that with alcohol. I battled with it for years, man. Years, like 15, 20 years. Wow. It was.
I'm sure we talked about this in your first episode, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it's probably next year will be 20 years since I drank.
Okay, dang. Dude.
And it was like when it finally happened, boom, instantaneous. Like God took it away, so I can contest to that when people say,
yeah,
God took it from me.
Yeah.
I know what that feels like. I
Okay.
know that feeling.
Yeah.
And I know how to pray for that. Because it happened. It worked. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to pray the exact same prayer. I'm going to do the turn around and do that. And it did not work with anxiety.
Right.
So it was the realizing that there are different battles and there are different tactics and there are different things that he has for us to experience in our life
Right.
that we have to go through.
Yeah.
And he's going to deal with them differently.
Yes.
Right? And it's recognizing that.
Yeah, because there's people that struggle. I know people that struggle with alcoholism still. And they've been praying for the Lord to take it away from them for years. And they'll go a couple months, they're doing good, and then they'll fall off the wagon. And they'll be off the wagon for a while, get back. You know the struggle because you dealt with it. But, like, why do you think it is that in your case, the Lord said, okay, I'm going to remove it from you completely, to where other people he doesn't?
I don't know.
Right.
I wish you would with anxiety,
But
right?
he knows.
He knows.
Right. He has a purpose behind it.
I'll tell you that. Well, maybe just for the fact that I can tell people he did that in my life.
Sure.
And it was a thing that that if you knew me, anyone that knew me then and knows me now, 20 years later, 30 years later, they can attest and visually say, man, like we thought he was to be dead or in prison.
Yeah.
Like this is what we thought where Cort was going to be,
Yes,
right? And
yes.
they can say, like, the fact that he has a family, a life, he teaches all these kids more, all this, that's God in his life,
Right.
Like the fruit, right? When we talk about the fruit,
Yep.
That's why nobody can ever look at my life because I cannot look at my life and go, I don't know where God's been,
Right.
Because my God, right? I can look at my
yeah.
life and go, that's God's work. Like when I finally passed his earth with God, I'm
Right.
like
Which is really the whole
the
point.
Afghan is there, right? Like that he's sown in my life.
Yes.
So I think that he's brought this anxiety into my life for that same reason. Like, okay, I was in bed praying, God. I couldn't get out of bed. I was in the fetal. I couldn't even move.
Yeah.
This is a couple years ago, and you know what? Everybody's like, yeah, and he's just gonna come. You know what he said? He said, get up and put your boots on, right? And then you'll hear other people say, because it preaches well, God's never going to tell you to strap on your boots and put them on. Well, damn, he told me to do that. I was laying in bed. I did not get the pass. Like, oh, man. He said, get up, put your boots on.
Yeah.
Put my pants on, and I went. And, man, I was like, just like, when you're sweating and like every orifice is like open on your face.
Right,
You're
right,
just snotting everything. And you're like watching your face, and I just got to move, and you're like trying to walk, and everything's blurry, right?
Yeah.
And you just go on with the day.
Okay.
Again and again and then again. That went on for months.
Wow.
Ryan. For months, Ryan.
Wow. This every day you're dealing with
months,
this?
day after day after. Lucy would just get up. At first, she'd be like, "Okay, all right." it got to the point, this was the hardest part, where she'd just get up and not look at me and leave, right? Because it's like you're abandoned. Because they'll abandon you, the people around you, because they don't know how to help
you,
They just are like, I can't help, I don't know what it is, I'm helpless, I don't know, and they abandon you. They don't realize they're abandoning you. It's not, I mean, God bless them, they don't know, but that's the feeling that it's, and what you don't understand when you're having the anxiety, what they don't understand when you're having the anxiety attack is that everything that they're doing is like multiplied by 10,000. So it's like they just said bye and took everything they own and left.
Right.
That's the feeling you're left with, right? That abandonment. Like, so these things, got to go through them.
Yes.
You go through them.
Yes.
You go, because how do I explain this to the 25-year-old, 30-year-old guy in life?
See, and that's,
I haven't experienced
that is just exactly it. And I cannot tell you how many people have come into my life, not because I'm looking for them, that are dealing with anxiety and panic disorder and all this stuff. And it's funny because sometimes it's a guy, I mean, because that's not something you bring up when you first meet somebody. Hi, my name's Ryan. I struggle with panic disorder and anxiety.
I have panic attacks.
Yeah, exactly. You don't just say that. But I've had people literally, within the first 10 minutes that I've met them, for whatever reason, they decide to tell me that. And I'm like, oh, really? I have too. And then it starts this conversation, and then we're talking, and it's like, and it's all the Lord, right? And it's like, and then I look back and I think that's why I've been dealing with this since I was 13. That's why. That's why I got the talk therapy help that I got. That's why I have the tools that I now have to confront this issue, so I can talk to people who are right in the middle of it and say, look, man, I'm with you. I get it. I know you don't think anybody else gets it, but I do. Right. You know? And it's amazing how many people have come in, and there's even been people that I've referred to my same guy that I did talk therapy with, and they've got amazing results with that too, with the CBT and the whole ding, not to be confused with CBD.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes, exactly.
And it's really good, man.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is your brain. You have to rewire how you react.
Right. Right.
That's the bottom line. And that's why God's putting it there. You're doing it wrong.
Yes.
Or what you were doing wasn't necessarily wrong, but that time has passed.
Right.
And now you need to do it differently. And this year I turned 45, and I realized, I said, man, it was a big thing because, you know, in all truth, like, I probably passed half my life. But I said, you know what? When do we actually say that to ourselves? So this year I said, I'm halfway through
45,
my life now.
Yeah.
If I get another 30 years and I get to 120, extra credit. But if I get to 90, God did real good there too, right?
Yeah.
I ain't complaining.
That's old.
So I said that half is over. And what I learned in that half, I need to relay to those people going through that half.
Yes.
And now I'm starting the second half.
Yep.
And the second half of my life, I'm going to be a different character now. Right? I'm going to be the same person. Right. But I'm going to be a little different character.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't like that part of my character. That part's gone.
Yeah.
What did I like? I like that part. I like that part. I like that part. I like that part.
So you build a new character that encompasses the good traits of the old one, but gets rid of the bad traits.
And that's what he's calling us to do.
Nice.
And that's what this is, right? It's a book of how do I go through and systematically take out those bad pieces and put in good pieces so I react. Right. So my wife says this. I'm not angry at her because now our relationship is as opposed to what is life? Just a whole bunch of relationships. Right. So if I'm making all my relationships mad, I'm living a pretty poor life. But if I have all my relationships where they should be, then whatever else is going on doesn't matter. Yeah. Because I can't take any of that stuff with me. Right. In the end of the day, when I'm in heaven, right, and you're in heaven, it's our relationship that we had, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we're on earth. It was great. Whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to look like. I have no idea. No. Am I going to assume?
You don't have to know.
I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But whatever it is going to look like and be,
right.
Our life here is just relationships.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Nothing else comes with us.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Right.
Right? Nothing. I don't even know if you get, like people argue about whether you even get to take your memories, right? Who knows? I don't know. I hope you do.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows? I don't know. You know?
Some of them. I wouldn't want all of them.
Yeah, there's plenty you wouldn't want, right? There's plenty that would cause tears, and he says he wipes away tears.
Bingo.
Say, he gets rid of those memories.
Yes,
and blah, blah, blah.
exactly.
And he gets rid of the memories of the people that didn't make it. And he goes, I hope not, because I still like those people. I don't know, man. Who knows? I don't know. Those are all things that are, again, beyond my pay grade, right? I don't know, but I do know this, that while I'm here, I want to be the best personification of the character that God has made me, right?
Right.
Like he wired me and made me.
Yeah.
I have a personality.
Yep.
But I can control that personality of how much is, like, what level of each attributes of my personality are acceptable to Ryan, right?
Yes.
Like, because I can be like, rah, Ryan! that kind of boisterous person, or I could be a very reserved, right?
Yeah.
Or is it somewhere in the middle? Like, you see, like, there's...
Depends on the day, man.
Yeah. Depends on the day. And that's what we control. And
Yeah.
And at the end, like one of the things that we were talking about recently is that's what really causes the anxiety in us. Is we want to control things we have no control over.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's what does it.
Yes. Because we can't just let God take control.
All these people.
Yes.
I want to control all these situations.
Yeah.
I want to control what's coming towards me so I can delegate, so I can navigate, so I can...
Yeah.
But I can't control it.
Right.
I'm not in control.
Yeah.
And I never will be in control. The only thing I can control is how I react.
Bingo.
That's it. That's the only control.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. You can't control your circumstances. You can't control other people and what they're going to do and say. And all you can control is how you respond to that.
You know, it's so critical I think, to realize that.
Yeah.
And then once we realize it, to put it into action.
Yeah.
Right? And the way you do that is one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Because if we take too much, it's too much.
Yeah.
Because it's vast, right? We're talking about our whole personality.
Right.
This is the most vastest thing we own, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now we're saying, well, how am I systematically going to do it? Well, what's the worst thing that I react to?
Yeah.
What's the worst thing? When my wife says this, I immediately fly off the handle.
Yeah.
Well, stop doing that. Like, that's number one. Let's
Right.
quit doing that.
Right.
You know, how do I react to this? I'm on social media and I see something. How do I react to that? Oh, lust immediately, right? Well, take that out right away, right?
Right.
Like just like simple things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's the answer, Ryan. I really do, man.
Yeah.
I really think that, and this is why it's the answer. It's because it's over the duration of time.
Yeah.
They get less, so we're fighting less battles,
Right.
and we have more to put into each of our battles because we're fighting less battles.
Yeah.
And I think, and you don't like you tell me if I'm right here. When you get like on a real good place with God, like where you're really feeling good, not having your anxiety, you're feeling and everything, and it goes about 2 weeks, and you're just living right.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel good?
Yeah.
And then what happens? Like something comes in.
You get hit.
And you get blindsided by something that it causes anger, lust, emotion,
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever the emotional
Yeah.
thing comes in, right?
Yeah. It's almost to where this has been happening so long in my life now that it's almost to where I have just an amazing day. Like most of the time my life's pretty decent. Like I don't have a horrible life or anything. But there's certain days where it's just like, man, I'm walking in the clouds. This is the best day. Every couple months I'll have one of those. And I've learned that when I have one of those,
The next day.
dude, it's preparing me for a big time smashing of something, and then all of a sudden I'm in a depression or I'm in anxiety or I'm just something. It's like, man, what happened? And then I start thinking, did my mind cause that? Is it because I'm thinking, oh, today's great, and then I think, oh wait, I know what that means, but then I get involved in this whole thing of how much power do our thoughts really have? And all of that, and I think, yes, I think our thoughts have power to the point of how it affects us.
Yeah.
I don't think my thoughts or my words have the power to change things outside of me. Like I can't say, hey man, you're a rabbit. Yeah. And then you turn into a rabbit. Like I know, I can do that all day long.
No.
But I can think, like we're talking about self-talk, I can think the wrong things and that will change my frame of mind and my mindset into something that's not right.
So I was talking to a doctor, and there are cases of this where people were misdiagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
Die 2 months later because it's aggressive. It's going to kill you. Autopsy, 0 cancer.
Really? So, but they were led to believe they had cancer.
That's how powerful your brain is.
Yeah. See, that's crazy.
That's why I tell you, anxiety will kill you, right?
Yeah.
Because it's in your brain.
Yeah.
It will kill you, man.
But like, so that's to say that if someone has cancer,
it causes your body to start shutting down stuff. Mm-hmm. Because your mind is that strong, man.
Yeah.
Your mind is.
So you think then, though, that by that account, do you think that, let's say you are diagnosed with cancer? I mean, I'm not saying you are, but let's say hypothetically somebody is, and you see it. You see the scans, you see the whole deal. No, you do have it, right?
Yeah.
And then you think as hard as you can that you don't have it. Are you saying that you think you can erase that actual reality like that?
So I have a friend, his dad came out with cancer, and we call him he's a Jewish Puerto Rican, or Puerto Rican Jew. That's what we call him. Yeah, Puerto Rican Jew. He's a really good friend of ours, Al Lopez, great guy. Okay. And so he does practice like Judah. He doesn't eat pork, all that, and he's a Puerto Rican guy. He's funny, love him. But he came down with cancer. They died with cancer. It's about 15 years ago. Okay. 15 years. You need to start chemo immediately. Right. Immediately. And he's a funny guy. He's like, what? I ain't gonna do that. That's right. I'm just gonna start eating vegetables and fruit. Right. So he went home, got a book, started eating vegetables and fruit. It's 15 years later. He doesn't have cancer. Yeah. But see, here's my issue with that. I don't know, man.
No, I know stories.
Ryan.
I've read books like that.
You didn't believe in it.
There's books like that teach that. And then my cousin's real big on that. She's told me, oh, no. And in fact, she had her friend's dad, similar thing. He ended up getting, I think it was some form of stomach cancer or something. And he changed his diet. I think broccoli is a big one, like some of these like cancer-fighting vegetables, they say. Yeah. And he changed his diet, and the cancer went away, right? And the obvious, I say in quotes, the obvious conclusion is that it was a change of diet, right? Even though there's really no way to know that, because there are people that are diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 even, on their way out, and they say things like that. Oh, we want you to go on chemo, you got to do the radiation, and they say, no, I'm just going to, whatever. If the Lord wants to take me home, I'm going to go home. Ooh, yeah. And they don't do anything. They don't change their diet. They continue to eat whatever they want. Keep living, and the cancer goes away. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say it, because for the guy that wrote the book about eating the broccoli, I forgot the book was called, but that was basically it. You get diagnosed with cancer, start eating nothing but broccoli, your cancer is going to go away, right? I'm exaggerating, of course. Something along those lines. But there's plenty of people that will read that book that have cancer and will do exactly that and will die of cancer. You see what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things where it's so not black and white. It's not a guarantee. I mean, because if it was, they would be, I mean, chemo be gone, radiation all be gone, and be like, here, just stock up on broccoli. Here's some concentrated broccoli pills. You know, it's just eat nothing but this, you know?
One thing we do know for sure is that chemo is killing you.
Sure.
That's what they're doing.
That's what it's supposed to do.
It's killing you. It brings you to the point where it kills the cancer before it kills you.
Correct.
And that's the hope.
That's right? Yeah, exactly.
You never know, man. But I would say this, that your mind is a very powerful thing. And God tells you it is in the beginning. That's why he says, guard your thoughts. Why does he say guard your thoughts? They're not important.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
He says, guard those thoughts, baby.
Yeah.
Because everything comes from them.
That's true, yeah. Because we can think the wrong things, and we can, like I said, but I think it'll change our frame of mind.
I mean, where does it start? In the thoughts.
Yes.
The book just told you that.
Correct.
Everything.
Yes.
Right? Even because this... You could say, she trapped you or whatever, like, like in the one story where it is Ecclesiastes, I'm forgetting where he talks about like her, she set your trap on the street for the prostitute or whatever. Oh, but even then, he saw and then he reacted and chose and he went in the door, right?
Yep.
So we all choose, right? It's all at the end of the day. So we control.
Sure.
That's why we can't say that, it's not my fault, God, because at the end of the day, that last reaction, emotion, and then our self-talk emotion is what allows us to either go through the door or not.
Sure.
Step back or not. So that's the part you're accountable for.
I agree, because I would call that part decision-making, right? Which it obviously uses the mind. Like you said, you use the analogy of the prostitute who sets the trap and says, oh, here I am, I'm alluring, come have me. Now, I have a choice to make if that's me, right? I can walk right past her and say, nope, I'm happily married, see you later. Or I can say, hey, that looks pretty good. Maybe no one will know. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And I go through the door. But that's a decision I made, right? And I'm going to have to suffer the consequences of that decision I made.
So think of your anxiety now. You think of that thing. Now we said, put anxiety.
Yeah.
Same thing on your head. Okay. This anxiety is on your head. What are you going to do? I walk through the door or I don't. And you're told what? Be anxious for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's where it's like, that's why he says that.
Yeah.
Because you go, how can you hold me accountable for anxiety, God?
Right. Well, here's one I've been...
That's why.
Yeah, right.
Because we have that self-talk, that last moment where we go, no, I'm not going to allow this. I have to make... So I tell you that to tell you the last piece of this whole thing, and you actually kind of already said it. You have to be delusional then. Right?
What do you mean?
Be delusional.
Just explain that.
So we can be delusional in our irrationalness. Right? That rationalist was delusional.
Well, irrationality and delusional are pretty synonymous.
But the opposite side was, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
Is that delusional too?
Yes.
But we have to be delusional then. So whenever you have
because we don't have to choose one of those two extremes.
Maybe we do.
I would say we just trust the Lord. See, to me, I'm like, we just have to not be scared of whatever the Lord's will is.
Right.
So that's not picking either one of those. I don't have to say I'm not going to die, nor do I have to say I'm definitely going to die. We're all going to die sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just trust the Lord that whenever that is, He knows. He knows what He's doing. He works all things for the good of those who love Him.
I don't think it works if you do it that way, though. I'm going to be honest. I think you have to reverse it and become delusional the opposite way. I think that's what
you mean to get rid of the anxiety?
That's what you have to do.
Okay.
So whenever you want to be building somebody to be a world champion, right? They go to very few of them do not go to sports psychologists. I don't know if you know that, but like if you're a world champion at any sport, basketball,
I didn't even know they had sport psychologists. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it's huge. Okay. Huge. Because that is what takes you to that next level. They figured it out everywhere. It's not just in anxiety. It's everywhere, man. It's everywhere. So what it is we just don't always put everything together, right? We don't realize it. Oh, it's everywhere. So if you want to be the best at something, right, you're going to physically dominate. You're going to put in all the hard work physically. You do all these things, whatever it is, race car drive, whatever it is, boxing,
discipline,
But everyone gets to this point, and they're all operating at about this level. Right? The next gear to get above that is to have the psychological advantage.
Yes.
Edge.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So what do? They go to the psychologist. What does the psychologist teach them to do? What do you think a sports psychologist is teaching you to do?
I don't know. I have no idea.
He's teaching you to mentally make your mind strong enough to never fold. Right? Because that's when we fold. We fold.
Yeah.
And that's how they win, because we're equal here physically, and the person with the mental event.
Yeah.
So he who folds first, and there's a lot of guys that they'll lose it in the last round.
Yes.
Like, Shell Sonnen was real famous for that. He'd win all the whole fight, just murder the guy with his wrestling, have him down, ground and pound, just blast him, and then at the end get triangled. It happened like 3-4 times. He's like, I get triangled in the last round. What's going on? It's a mental thing.
What does that mean, triangled? I don't know.
It's a chokehold.
Oh, okay.
But it was the exact same chokehold in like the same. And it's
so
like,
you think he would have figured out how?
Like, something's going on here, and the sports coach is like, you're giving up, and you're mentally giving in here.
Yeah.
Subconsciously, even though physically you're winning, still on top, but it's like something breaks inside of you.
Yeah.
To mentally turn it off.
So would you call that positive thinking? Like, would that be part of it? Like, you go into a match or whatever the sport is, assuming you're going to win. Like, you're believing in your head, I am going to win, or I am winning, or I already won.
Always.
Like, which could be a lie.
Always.
But you have to do that so you have the edge.
You ever listen to Mike Tyson before he walked to the ring? There's a perfect example of psyching yourself out mentally before a competition, right? He does it perfectly, right?
Yeah.
He says before he goes out to that ring, he's scared. He is the most feared child. Like, he's just like a child. Like, I am so scared. I can't believe I'm here. What am I doing here? This guy's gonna like. everything, he's in a full anxiety attack. Like, think that, like, oh, I can't believe it. And from that moment when he started there to walking out, builds inside him. He psyched himself up to when he got to that ring, he was like looking that guy like a lion looks at his prey.
Right.
You could see it too. He's just stalking the guy, and he's like, and like he's ready to eat him. And he and in his mind, he's like, well, why did this guy get in the ring with me again? Yeah. Oh, so I could kill him. That's right. Like
so he can get his couple $1 million and then.
Yeah. But he explains that to you, his mental process to get to that, right? And there's the truth in that is that's what we have to do to reverse this opposite side. Yeah. We have to delusionally come the opposite way because it's a pendulum.
Right.
In order to get back to baseline, if you've gone here, what do you have to do? You have to pull to here.
Yeah.
In order to end up back here. That's why you have to delusionally tell yourself.
Okay.
So, and we think, oh man, I don't want to live in a delusion. You're already living in a delusion. We already established that. Well, we're living in a delusion. We're characters. We're playing a part. So change the parts you're playing to the parts you want.
But what do you think about a lot of people would say that the only cure for anxiety is acceptance? What do you think about that?
Well, that is accepting it, though, right? I'm accepting that.
Well, not if you're deluding yourself.
I'm accepting that I'm going to have anxiety.
Okay.
That's going to happen, right?
Okay.
Like, I know that there's going to be situations that are going to come when I travel. Mm-hmm. I can choose to overthink and obsessively plan ahead and still have anxiety. Yeah. I can plan like I would normally plan, right? And then feel comfortable about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then when the problems come up, go, I'm going to deal with it. Right. Instead of going, oh, if I would have just planned better, I could have seen this problem coming. Yeah. Right? Do I know that? Yeah, maybe. But I don't know that for sure because I did that 2 times ago and I had a panic attack, right? So that didn't help me at all.
Yeah. And that makes you not want to do that thing again.
Makes me not even want to go anymore.
Now that's a trigger.
And now I don't even want to do it. Now I'm not even experiencing life. Now I'm just in my house all the time because it's scary out there, right? You see? Yeah. Or I come delusional and I go, yeah, I know I should plan better, but I can't. Right. And it's okay. Yeah. And I show myself grace now. And you can't take that grace from me because I've given you all grace. Right. I've been showing the world grace because you've been telling me for the last 25 years since I've been coming to church all the time that I need to be showing everyone else grace. Sure. But you know what? I need to show myself grace. Sure. What I told you. That was the I think like so.
I agree with you on that, by the way. That's for sure.
That was the most groundbreaking thing I learned from Dr. Gant. So my anxiety comes predominantly from I am my worst critic. Yeah. So like I said, we have to figure out what our trigger and what our underlying thing is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's another person. Sometimes it's this and that. For myself, I am my worst critic. I'm the hardest on myself. My dad was hard to please. My wife's hard to please, right? Yeah. Because we pull those people into our lives because that's who we are, right? Right. So I'm very critical on myself. Like I'm never good enough, right? Mm-hmm. And I always strive for perfection, right? It's martial art I'm doing all that, I really like, but and that's good. That builds success in your life. That builds all these things. Like I said, that's really good for like the first 25, 35, 40 years. You're great, right? Right. But then you run into this where now you're having all this anxiety. Now you're having all this obsessive thought on things because that's what it takes to be successful, to be all these things, like to be this big of a plan, to have that much obsessive planning. Mm-hmm. That's what people don't realize when they say, oh man, everything goes great for him all the time. Yeah. You know, he's got it so easy. He's got it blah, 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 blah. No, they don't understand that you're at home at night obsessively thinking about this thing for 20 hours, right? Yeah. 30 hours, whatever it is. Like, oh, that went off without a hitch. Yeah, you don't understand that took like life out of me, right? Like they don't realize that.
They don't know that. They look at other people and they think that, oh, I wish I had that guy's life. Everything's great for that guy. It's like you have no idea what that guy's life is like. So you know.
So it's in all that realizing that like you have to like go, man, I'm holding myself to this high level, which is good, right? And people will say you need to hold yourself to a high standard, and when you do that, like, it's good. It's good. I'm not saying it's not good.
Right.
And you should do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Bible calls us to do that. Like it does. But in doing that, you just have to realize and be honest. And every Christian out there has to be honest with themselves. It's going to build an anxiety in you. Sure. Because you can't meet God's standard. Yeah. Because that's really ultimately what the standard is, right? Like our standard is God's standard, right? Because we've replaced our own, when we become Christian, with God's standard, right? We say, okay, like, I hold myself to a high standard. Oh, God, he even holds us to a higher standard. Like, none of this, none of this. None of, what? Like, it's like, you know.
Yeah. So, and then we say, why do we need to be forgiven? Because we can't meet God's standard. Right? Why do we need salvation from Jesus Christ? Because we can't meet God's standard, because we're going to hell, so we got to get, right? So we get salvation, so because we accept Jesus, and now we're, okay, but we still can't meet his standard. Right. But we pursue that now, right? Because that's what being a believer is, right? Pursuing the rest of our life as he works it out in us to make him more like who? Christ.
Like Christ, to be more Christ-like. Right. A standard that you can't carry. Yeah. A standard that you can't be, right? Right. So it's like built-in anxiety, right? Right? It's built-in anxiety.
To me, that's the opposite. To me, that's relief. Because then that tells me I don't have to try to be that standard.
But you are trying. That's why you're having the panic attacks. That's why you're having the anxiety. You are trying. See, innately, you are trying. That's
I think
why.
So. I don't know if I don't know if my anxiety stems from that particular area though, because I know I'm a dirtball. I've always known that. I mean, Christianity for me, my Christian walk has just solidified that for me, and it makes me thankful that the Lord has saved me, in spite of my scumballness and all that stuff. And I know I can't ever earn that or achieve that.
Because He's washed you and made you clean and made you new.
Yeah.
What burns inside you then? Right?
Well, see, that's just it.
The desire to what? To be like Christ.
Well, yeah.
So subconsciously, inside you, there's your anxiety.
Yeah.
There it is. You're afraid to die, right? You're afraid to die and not meet what He's put you here on earth to do. That's all you're afraid, because you're not afraid to die because you're going to be with Him. You're not afraid to die because you're going to go in the ground. You're not afraid because the end result is Him.
You're not afraid of eternity.
Why are you afraid to die?
Right.
Because you didn't do what you were supposed to do while you were here. That's it, right? As a believer, that's to be your only thing that you could possibly say, right? I'm only afraid to die now because when I stand in front of God, I don't want Him to go, hey man, I really wanted you to do that. You didn't. Right? Like, honestly, like... Yeah.
Well, we could be in selfish ways. You could say,
of course,
I don't want to die because I want to watch my grandkids grow up. I want to grow old with my wife. I want to go travel Europe. I want to do, there's all this stuff I'd want to do.
But at the, but
ultimately I'm going to die someday. I guess those would be the reasons I don't want to die now.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to say I never want to die.
Let's say you get to live the full extent of your life. You can experience all of those things.
Yeah.
Right.
167.
Then at the end of the day, you're gonna say the only real regret you're gonna say is, man, if only I would have done more what God wanted me to do, right? Like that's gonna be my question to Him, right? Obviously, like did I at least like attempt to do the things you wanted me to do in life? Like,
I think
want to.
Okay, so I see what you're saying, but I think, and this is important, I think the only reason I'm not seeing it that way is because I think I have a slightly different view of Christianity, in a sense. I mean, not Christianity, but I mean, like, just the idea of walking with the Lord. I know, I mean, in my mind anyway, and from what I'm seeing from Scripture, I don't know if there's anything I'm supposed to do, in quotes, other than follow the Lord. Yeah. Now that He's indwelling me, He's saved me, He's forgiven me of my sins, He's living in me, and now He's gonna guide me. And my job every day is to wake up and say, okay, Lord, what do you want me to? Where do you want me to be? Where do you want me to, help me to follow you? Yeah. You're going to lead and I'm going to follow. I'm not going to be like, all right, here I am as a Christian. What am I going to do today for the Lord? I got to do the Lord's work for Him. I don't think that's really the way it works. I think it's Him doing His work in me and through me. And my job is just to be present, just to be like, okay,
well, you just
here I am. Sure.
When does that happen? Every day.
Every day, sure. Yeah, that's my desire.
So every day your desire is to do what God wants you to do in your life. Right? Yeah.
Well,
now, you don't wake up one day and go, man,
Yeah.
I just do not want to do what you want me to do today, God.
Yeah.
Though some days we do that. Like, sometimes we do what we want.
Right.
But never like do you consciously
Well,
say,
see,
today is mine, God.
Yeah, but see,
Right?
it sounds subtle, but there's a slight difference that I say every day my desire is that the Lord would use me.
Yep.
Not that I would do what he wants me to do, but that he would do the work in me. I know that sounds subtle. It sounds like the same thing, but in my mind it's not. It's very different. It's one is the human saying, I'm going to do the Lord's work. The other is I'm going to seek the Lord in hopes that he's going to minister in my life. First and foremost, he's going to
work through you,
work in me, and then through me, and he's going to do his work, whatever that is. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That could mean he's going to send me to Africa to be a missionary. It could mean he's just going to make me spark up a relationship with a coworker. Or it could mean that day nothing.
Yeah.
Could be that day my job is going to be nothing when it comes to the spirit realm. I'm just going to go to work. I'm going to do the books. I'm going to go deliver pizzas. I'm going to come home, go to bed, whatever, Yeah. So, but I mean, ideally, to me anyway, every day, my job is to say, "Here I am, Lord. Please do whatever you're going to do. Like, I'm open to you today. Yeah. Whether that means I'm going to sit dormant or you're going to do something, whatever your will is, because I don't, right? You know the perfect way. You know what your plans are. You know what needs to happen. I have no clue. I'm clueless. I can sit here and try to figure it out. Oh, he wants me to talk to 12 people today at work. He never told me that. The Bible doesn't tell me that. None of that says any of that. That's all my own human saying, well, today I'm going to talk to 12 people because I think the Lord, he's done so much for me. It's the least I could do is do something for him. It's just such a human way of thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But it's kind of natural in a sense. Like if you came to me and you said, let's say I'm destitute. My family's got no food. And you came over and you're like, dude, here's $1,000, man. We had a good month at whatever the job. I got an abundance here. Giving you $1,000 is not going to hurt my family at all, and it's going to feed your family, and it's going to give you all you need. Now, you would probably be doing that out of the goodness of your heart. You would have no expectation of anything back from me ever, right? You wouldn't be doing it to get something from me. But somewhere deep in my mind and my heart, I'm like, I got to pay him back someday. Oh, yeah. What he did for me was so invaluable that I'm just so valuable that I need to do something for him. So that I'm going to feel, even though you're not expecting it, you don't even want me to do that. You're like, nah, dude, the Lord was using me to help you in a time of need. I don't need anything back, right? Yeah. But it's so natural for us to do that. And I think we do the same with the Lord. But in reality, other than myself, offering myself as a willing vessel, what do I have that the Lord needs?
Oh, of course.
Nothing, right? I can't offer the Lord something that he needs.
How he uses you in your life, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And at the end of the day,
yeah,
you woke up each morning and said, here I am. Mm-hmm. Send me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, or at the end of the show, when you die...
Yeah.
If there's days you said, here I am, send me, great. If there's days you didn't say, here I am, send me, right? Those are the ones that you go,
maybe I should have said that.
I wish I would have said that, right? That's the fear.
Okay.
That's my only fear, right? That
the Lord's going to be disappointed in you, in a sense.
It's that I failed to meet the expectation of God, right?
Okay.
And that's impossible to me.
Correct. We all fail at that.
But that's the craziness. That's the craziness of, like I said, each person's got their own character, personality, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, for me, that was the greatest thing that a person could have told me. You need to show compassion to yourself. Mm-hmm. Where's your grace to yourself? I had never heard those words.
Yeah.
I had never heard those words, Ryan.
Okay.
I didn't think I got grace. Like, I thought my grace came from God, right?
Right.
But I didn't think grace came from me to me.
Right.
You understand that?
Yeah.
And it took me reflecting on it for a day.
Of course. Yes.
And I said, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me,
yeah.
Right? Like, and it really was.
Because you're beating yourself
I've never
up.
been told that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that realization that we're not perfect, man.
Yeah.
And we can. I haven't figured that piece out yet. I'm still like in the middle of that, how that works. Because we recognize that when we're young, when we're unbelievers.
Yeah.
And we realize the need for Jesus, and he comes in and restores us.
Yeah.
Restores the connection. Holy Spirit fills us. We live. And I mean, maybe that's why I'm going through this now. Because it's like, we say, here I am every day. Here I am, Lord, here I am, right? And then the amount of people that rely on you, that he builds, and all these things that he puts, that you start thinking, hey, I gotta be here every day. I gotta do this every day because that's what's morally right. Mm-hmm. And I think what it is, we just care so much about what everybody's thinking that we're doing, that we're doing it right.
Right.
And and we don't want to let anyone down.
Yeah.
And I think that's really at the ultimate root of the thing is like, it's just, it's because we do what we're supposed to do. Like, remember the last time we were doing what we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
We
I think that was the name of your episode, I believe.
Be the men that we're supposed to be.
Right.
But at the end, or women, but at the end of it, it creates in us another thing that we have to deal with later.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it was making sense. Like, God knows it does that.
Right.
And he does it that way by design.
Correct.
So that then we have this other thing now.
Yeah.
That he's going to mature us with in another way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's almost like he knows what he's doing.
Almost, right?
Right,
I haven't gotten that far yet to be able to conclusively say he knows what he's doing. I have a few more steps.
Yeah. Oh,
when I get all the way there, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen it now.
Well, so one thing that I've been wanting to bring up since the get-go is the verse we keep talking about is be anxious for nothing, right? But there's the other one, and this was the verse that was the kicker for me, which is the cast all of your anxieties on him, right? For he cares for you, right? Yeah. Or it's some translations say cares, cast all of your cares on him, but it's the word anxiety. It's the Greek word, which means, I think it's MERIMNA, I believe is the Greek word, but it means to occupy the attention of the mind. So distraction, basically, right? And I heard a sermon series one time where the pastor said, he titled it, "The Only Weapon That Satan Has Against a Believer." And his whole point was, which is MERIMNA, and his whole point was, if you're saved, the devil can't have your soul. You're saved, you're sealed, you're good to go. You will be with the Lord someday in heaven for eternity, right? Now all Satan can do is try to stunt your growth. And the way he's going to do that is by distracting you, and you're going good. You're following the Lord. You're growing in the Lord. You're reading the Word, and He's ministering to you. And then Satan puts something in your way that's going to take your mind and focus off of God and His Word and go over here. Whether that's a family emergency or a job change or a moving out of the state or whatever it is, right? It's going to be something that's going to temporarily get you out of that growth cycle that you were in, because you're growing leaps and bounds in maturity, and then Satan goes, "What?" And you're like, oh, and then you have like a 6-month setback, and then you get back into it, and then he thinks of something else to throw in there, right? So that whole idea of that, and that verse is so big to me, because the only other place where that word cast your cares, cast your anxieties on him, the only other place in the New Testament that same word is used for cast is where it says that when the disciples went to get was it a colt? Jesus told them to go get the...
Oh, yeah.
Or was it a lamb? It was a colt, right?
It was a colt.
Yeah, to get the colt for him to ride on. It says that they cast their garments onto the colt.
And they threw them over,
Which means what? They did not hang on to the garments. They didn't throw the garments onto the colt and then continue to walk along with the colt with their hand on the garment. They completely threw it from themselves onto the colt, which you go back and apply that cast your cares on him. And that's what we tend to do. That's what I tend to do. I tend to say things like, Lord, I'm giving this to you. Lord, take this from me. I'm giving it to you. I'm casting my anxiety on you. All the while I'm holding on to it with both knuckles. But I can't let go.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I'm letting go, and I'm not. I'm lying to myself because I'm not truly letting go. If I was truly letting go, I wouldn't be afraid anymore. I wouldn't have the anxiety. It'd be gone because I'm trusting him.
That's why I say that's why you have to be delusional.
Yeah. That sounds so bad, though.
No, it
is. To say to be delusional.
It's only because we've made it that way. We're all delusional.
Okay.
You know, I laugh.
I'm having a hard time grasping that concept of what you're saying.
Because we're like in your life, you wake up, right? You wake up, you be Ryan every day.
Yeah.
You're Ryan.
Yeah, I don't have any choice. I mean, I'm Ryan. I am Ryan.
Well, you do have a choice.
Yeah.
You can wake up
I could change my name. I can identify as a woman.
Well, you don't have to. You can wake up and you could be a total different person.
Yeah.
And your wife would be like, "Where is Ryan today?"
Right.
Right?
She'd think I had DID or whatever.
Were you mad? What's wrong?
Yeah.
Right? That's immediately the answer. Right? What's wrong? Like something's because they notice right away. Like you're acting funny.
Yeah.
Because they know your character.
Right. Yeah, there's been a shift in my personality in a sense, and I think that can be growth. Like, I don't have the same personality right now as I did when I was 15.
So if 15 or even 20 walked in to 48, 47 now?
47, yeah.
47-year-old Ryan, like, two different people. Your wife wouldn't even recognize. She'd be like, a little bit, but I remember someone like that way back, right? Like, you know what I mean? But
sure.
Like my wife would be like, who? Wow,
yeah, like there's a hint. There's a hint there.
Yeah.
You can still tell who it is, but
you're not the same character.
It's different. Yeah,
you're not the same character.
Yeah,
right. You've grown and become a different character slowly. Sometimes maybe a little faster, slowly through all the years, right? Different moments, seasons in your life.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying. You're doing.
Well, what's the delusion there, though? Because that's
delusions of what changed your character. Some of them are delusional changes you made, right?
I don't know. I'm not following.
We deem delusion as like a bad thing, right? Oh, you're delusional.
Yeah, it's used in a bad context usually. Sure.
But if someone said you're the greatest, you're gonna be the greatest.
Yeah.
Like no one's ever gonna be greater than you, and now we're gonna train. We're gonna make you the best. We're the best.
Yeah, and if I believe that, that's delusional.
How do I believe that? Maybe I am the best. My dad's right. I'm the best. I'm the best.
Yeah.
I'm the best.
Yeah,
I'm
the
best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I go to the gym. I'm the best. I'm the best.
You're playing the Rocky theme song.
I go to the Olympics. Man, I'm the best. And that person all of a sudden believing they were the best, training the hardest all the time, every day.
Sure.
16 years old. Oh, wow, Olympic gold medal. You're the best in the world.
Yeah.
You are the best in the world today. I am the best in the world. Yeah. Were they delusional? Absolutely. 1,000% they were delusional.
Well, but
now are they in reality? Yes, they are in reality. They brought their delusional self right into reality. I see what you're saying. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Well, but I guess the reason why it has a bad connotation is because delusional, it denotes that you believe something that is not true.
Maybe not,
right? Like
that's
delusion. Because like in your example, when you say you're told you're the best and you start to believe it, I'm the best. Now you could be delusional.
It wasn't true at the time, but it's true now.
Well, but how do you know it wasn't true at the time? Because when he got to the end result, it proved it was true.
We never know because we can't know those things.
So you're saying it wasn't realized yet, is what you're saying.
Unrealized potential is what that's
But that's not delusional.
It is. Unrealized potential is shrouded in delusion.
I don't know, man.
Unrealized potential is shrouded in delusion.
Yeah. It could be. I think it could be.
Yeah.
But it's not
negative,
definitely
positive,
always.
It doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
Right? If we become delusional negatively, we could take it the opposite way, right?
Yeah.
All I'm proposing is that your mind is what you control.
I agree.
And he said control your thoughts.
Yeah, and I agree.
And that's the third step.
Bingo.
So I'm just taking what the Bible says and applying it to these four things that I can visually see happen when situation, emotion, self-talk, anxiety attack.
Yeah.
My only thing I control is my thoughts. The Bible tells me control my thoughts.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So how do I control my thoughts?
By being delusional.
Spectrum, right? It's a spectrum. I can say negative, positive, right? And if I'm all the way negative, I know just from all how spectrums work, I need to go further this way. It's just like you were saying when you have that really good day and the bad day comes after. If you were to have a very bad day, you know what would follow? Typically a good day. Because you've been so bad. It's like
at least a better day.
A better
day. Yeah.
So here's a proof example of that. They're doing it now, right? What do you think the whole ice bath thing is all over, right?
Right. Yes.
My son does it every day. Bruce.
Does he really?
He's crazy. He takes cold showers. He has for years now.
See, now that's a sign of a delusion.
He's nuts.
You might want to get him checked out, man.
love that kid, man. He's everything I wish, like with the way that he could just do things, man. I can't do cold showers like that.
No, I can't even do lukewarm showers.
The purpose of it, the reason for it, right? When you are on your phone and you're like Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, that thing is made by people, designed by people who run slot machines. Like they hired them because it's giving you a dopamine drop when you're doing
absolutely.
it. And when you put it down, I feel bad now because I've gotten my dopamine.
Yeah.
When you get in the cold shower, it's the opposite. You swing the pendulum the other way. Oh, this sucks so bad. Oh, why am I doing this? Oh.
Right.
And then you're there. And they say after about 45 seconds, they need to do a full 3 minutes or something to get the full thing. There's a whole thing to it, right?
Okay.
When you get out, though, dopamine drop.
Is that because you feel the heat of not being in the cold anymore?
No, it's because you swung the opposite way.
Okay.
So your body gives you free dopamine. Whereas if you do this, you're getting the dopamine like crack.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting the crack. Now, when you get off it, you get a free negative swing back the other way. Okay. That's why you feel bad. So think of it now like that.
Would that be similar to like
swinging,
not eating for 3 or 4 days, and then having a meal?
No, you feel good, but that's how you're dopamine.
Because like you if you eat 3 meals a day for your whole life, you might start to take for granted food, right? You like food because that's why you keep eating. It's good, whatever. But then if you go without. I mean, especially if it's out of your control. Let's say you're in I don't know, you get captured and you're in camp and they're not feeding you. Yeah. And then you get rescued a week later and you have that meal sitting in front of you. I mean, it could be not even your favorite food. Right. It could be like beets and turnips and something like that. Stuff like that, and polenta. And you got all that there, and it's going to be the best meal you've had ever because you've gone without for so long that it's like, oh my gosh, I just appreciate anything of sustenance, anything at all. I don't care what. It doesn't have to be pizza or cheeseburgers or ice cream. None of that. Just give me something I used to hate. Yeah. Is that kind of the same thing, or is that's probably something totally different?
Well, that's its own thing. But that's definitely something, right? There's some truth to that too. That's definitely a true thing that you can use. Okay. You can use that as for sure to like, especially if you wanted to like change your diet or something and eat better food. Yeah. And on top of all this, like we haven't even gotten into the food. Right. Food absolutely affects your anxiety and all those things.
Oh, I know.
So that's another. That's a whole other side that you can add into this on top of doing this part of it to help with this. So there's multiple angles you can hit your anxiety.
That's why I eat pizza and ice cream all the time because it makes me happy.
Happy,
which makes me not anxious.
So, but like. If you take anything and do a negative, then typically the pendulum swings to a positive. You do anything like too much like positive, it swings to a negative. That's kind of you'll start seeing that. I'm sure you've seen. You're old enough to notice that. Yeah. Like, I noticed that. Yeah.
Right.
No,
right. Yeah.
So that's the same with your thought, right? If I'm in the negative, right? Yeah. Yeah. Then no wonder, right? So I need if I want to be moving it correctly, right? And I have to do that. I have to change. I can't be thinking, oh man, the plane's gonna crash. Right. I can't be thinking, well, it might crash, but I'll probably be fine. That's not comfort where I'm from. Well, no, why?
But again, why don't you think that it's probably not going to crash? Because that is reality. That is the truth. Is there a chance it could crash? Yes, but it's such a minute chance. You have a better chance of dying in the car on the way to the airport than you do in the plane.
But let me ask you: is that truly forgetting it, or not? So, let's put it in perspective. A car. So we'll say the same two things. So I say, okay, oh man, I don't want to get in that flight because the plane could crash and I could die. It's probably not going to crash. The odds are like this. Yeah. Okay. Or, it's not going to crash. Who cares? That's my 3. When I get in my car, do I say, oh man, I'm going to get in my car and it could crash and I could die? Yeah. That could very well happen. Sure. Do I go check the odds to make sure I'm okay? Nah, the odds are like 50,
no, but 70, you don't. 30. Do you know why you don't, though?
So fine. Or do I say, I'm going to be fine? Yeah. I do that. I say
you do, but the reason why is because we drive in our cars every day.
Because I'm delusional.
It's become normal,
and I'm delusional to thinking that I'm not going to crash.
Well, but you're probably right there too.
But I'm probably right. Even in my delusion, I'm probably right that I'm not going to crash.
But see, then it's not a delusion. If it's true, it's not a delusion.
Exactly. Because what did I say? What did I say the word was? Potential? What was it?
Potential, don't tell me. Potential, oh crap. What was it? It was like potential victory or something, or potential.
I forgot now, too.
You did not.
Yeah, I did.
Really?
I told you. Whatever I said, it was really smart.
Yeah, it was. It's recorded.
I can't remember yet.
So I'll hear it later.
I can't remember because you didn't say it. And I was thinking like right as you were gonna say.
Yeah.
You know that.
Maybe I'll name the episode that. Whatever it was you said.
What was it? Potential delusion is shrouded in is something unrealized potential.
There it is.
Shrouded in delusion.
There it is.
Didn't that prove it right there?
Yeah.
It is, right? My delusion is the potential. Now I'm not going to crash. And I don't crash. Because I don't crash.
Yeah, but you
I have no control over it.
Correct.
I only can control.
You believing you're going to crash.
I can only control my belief. And I believe I'm not going to crash.
But even that belief doesn't dictate the truth.
It doesn't, exactly.
Right.
Could I still crash? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But who needs to worry themselves with that?
I agree.
Right?
I agree
That's
with you.
what God's telling you.
I agree with
who
you.
Who needs to weary themselves with that thought?
Right.
Right.
Because if you're going to die in a car crash, guess what? It's not out of God's control. Whether you believe it's going to happen, you don't believe it's going to happen,
right.
Whether you try to pray it away, if God has designed that on January 12th, whatever year, you're going to die in a car accident, guess what? That's your
that's
right.
It.
That's in the cards for you, and that's why you just trust the Lord in everything, because He knows what He's doing.
So are we delusional? We all are a little delusional, right? And I think that's been the biggest thing for me to realize is like it's okay.
And this is the only thing in our whole discussion I haven't been able to grasp what you're saying.
It's okay to live in there.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a little delusional, man.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right.
Because
like Norman Bates, we're all a little crazy.
Now I think that's the problem. Well, no, what did I start with? We are all what?
Crazy.
Yeah. The more you talk to people, the more you realize that like nobody's sane, man. Like nobody out there.
Well, but again,
I've never met anyone yet.
It's such an important aspect, though, to define sanity and define crazy, right? Because when we think of the farthest
that's
crazy,
why I say a little crazy.
We're like schizophrenics, people that are hallucinating, like they're or whatever, right? And you can say everybody's that. Obviously, that's not true. Most people are not that. That's why the people that are that way stand out to us.
Yes. Yep.
Right. You see the guy in the subway who's talking to himself, and he's got an invisible friend over here we can't see. We go, okay, stay away from that guy. He's a little out there or whatever, right?
For sure.
So, but yeah, if you're saying we're all
there's levels to it.
If your definition of crazy is kind of like our minds aren't all functioning at their full capacity of what they should be, I would agree with that definition.
I would say are crazy in that our minds are all functioning in our own world. Own world.
I still don't know about that.
In our own world, then is in this big world. And in our own world, right?
Which is, well, there's a reality. There's a real world.
React.
There's a real world where my name is Ryan. Absolutely. I was born into this is all reality.
Yeah.
But you're saying that within that real world, I'm living in my own reality and within my mind?
Absolutely.
Or there's aspects of my life that I might be like for example, again, we're talking about anxiety, right? Yeah. The reality is I am not going to go crazy from having anxiety.
You could absolutely.
Well, I disagree.
People have gone crazy from
I disagree.
People
get
institutionalized for that stuff. Yeah, it leads to that. What it leads to is it erodes your safety nets to the point where you do something like in your anxiety attack where they put you in jail, man.
But you won't become schizophrenic.
Oh, you can become.
I don't think so.
Not schizophrenia. I don't think it goes to that. I think
you can get agoraphobia, which people say is crazy. You might want to hide in your house. You might be antisocial. Yes, absolutely. All these things. Yes,
goes to
I'm talking about like.
But those are all mental disorders.
Yes, they are. But I'm talking about like psychosis. And that's what that's one of the most common fears of people with anxiety and panic disorder is that they are going to go psycho. They're going to go schizophrenic.
Let me tell you something here, because now we haven't gotten into that part. So how do you react to your anxiety attack? How you react to your anxiety attack is completely depending on how you're wired and your fight and flight syndrome.
Sure.
Right?
So the question, there's two questions.
No, here, this is real.
Well, I'm trying to answer the question.
Are you a fighter or a flighter?
I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
Mostly.
You're not a fighter.
Right.
Can you go to prison for anxiety attacks? If you're a fighter, you can. Because when you have an anxiety attack, when you have an anxiety attack, you get to the point of fear.
Yeah.
When you go to fear, you go to what? I'm scared.
Yes.
I'm fear.
But you're not going to prison.
People go to fear. You know what they go to? Combativeness.
Sure.
And when they start fighting, they don't care you're having an anxiety attack. That guy's fighting, and the police are here, and they're just fighting the police. You know what? You're going to catch charges.
So you're going to jail,
go to prison.
But you're going to prison for violence against a police officer, not for anxiety.
Oh yeah, but
it's not going to say on your thing we're putting you in jail for anxiety.
Right? Absolutely,
because again, you have choices. You have choices.
I've been pencil whipped enough by the police. I know.
Yeah.
So they'll leave that. So here, the reality is, you had an anxiety attack. You were not even in your mind. So you better get a good lawyer, because you're not in your mind having an anxiety attack.
You're talking about like pleading insanity? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no.
For an anxiety attack?
No.
Okay.
When you're having an anxiety attack,
you
can't control that you're on the fetal position on the ground.
Yeah, you can. You don't think you can, but you can.
I don't think right.
There might be times in your walk with anxiety where you don't have the tools yet to be able to control that.
Sure. Let's say we're at that time.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Right. But you still make it... Okay, so this is the same thing as saying someone was brought up in an abusive family.
That's not the same. We're talking about just anxiety.
Well, hear me out, though.
We're talking about an actual attack.
I understand what you're saying. But
medical condition.
To me, it's a similar thing to say that if someone is angry, let's say, because let's say their dad was an alcoholic and used to beat them up, okay?
And they get mad.
And they're just angry people. They're angry.
Yeah, sure.
So they go to bars, they get drunk, and then they get in fights.
And they're going to send them to prison.
Yeah, now, their defense shouldn't be, I know some people try to use it as that, he had a messed up childhood.
Sure.
Okay, that might be true, and I feel for that. Yeah. I feel for the guy that had a messed up childhood. But he's in prison for attacking another person.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of people who have a messed up childhood who don't attack other people. There's plenty of people that have panic disorder and anxiety issues that don't attack other people.
Sure.
So to say the anxiety is sending them to prison, that's why I have a problem with that wording. Because it's not the anxiety that's sending, it's the violence.
So if you have a heart attack and you're on the ground,
and
you just had a heart attack,
sure,
and you're like, I have a heart attack like this,
right,
and or whatever, I don't know, you're having a seizure, and you hit somebody,
sure,
you just hit them,
Well, that I would say that's a little more out of your control if you're seizing.
Why do you think
because you're unconscious.
Well, I was unconscious when I had a panic attack.
Yeah. But you weren't doing anything because you were unconscious.
I was what I was doing. I reached up and pulled myself out of the bottom of the
right
thing, so obviously I could move.
Sure.
But my point is not. My point is that it can send you places you don't want to go when you're having a panic attack. That's my point. My point's not that whether it's right or wrong that this person is charged with that.
Yes.
My point is, look, it could put you in a situation that you did not want to be in, obviously. Did not choose to be in.
Well, yeah, but
I guess
the point I was making is, as we go back to what I was saying originally about schizophrenia and that being one of the number one fears. And one of the things they will say as you go through CBT or other kinds of talk therapy, or even just reading books like this and learning about what panic disorder is and anxiety disorders, is that one of the number one fears is that you'll go crazy, and I put that in quotes. And I know when I went through that, they even had to define that for me. What do you mean by go crazy? Usually people mean is schizophrenia. They believe because you feel like you're losing control of your thoughts, and you're getting intrusive thoughts, and you're getting all this stuff happening, and you start to think, I'm going to end up like that guy in the corner that's talking to himself, that's fried out of his mind, that doesn't know what he's doing, right? You
start becoming paranoid.
Correct. Well, yes, you start to worry about that, and that's the number one fear. But my point,
your wife cheat on you, this happens, that happens,
correct.
Blah, blah, blah,
yes. But my point is this: is that being scared that you're going to become schizophrenic, first of all, will never cause schizophrenia. First of all, secondly, people that are schizophrenic are not worried about being schizophrenic. They're not scared of being schizophrenic. They say that's one of the main distinctions between anxiety disorder and somebody who's actually schizophrenic is that the guy with anxiety is freaking out about it. I'm going to go crazy. I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. The guy that's talking to himself, he don't care. He really is living in his own little world.
Great time.
He literally is in his own world. Right. I see him. They come to the library all the time. We have our regulars in there, and they're literally talking to 4 different people around them all the time that are not there.
And they're having a blast.
But sure. Right.
They're happy.
Exactly. In a sense, they are.
No
right?
anxiety.
They do not know. They have no idea that they're delusional. They have no idea that they're schizophrenic. They don't even know that. They just think, oh. And we have one guy who he's sitting there and he can talk to 4 different people. He'll come up, ask us a question. He's told right. He's back in reality.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Could I get a book on something? Yeah, it's up here. Okay, thank you so much. And then immediately turns around and then he starts talking to all the people around him again. And he switches from what seems like sane-minded to completely nutso within a matter of seconds.
Right.
And to him, that's normal. That's been his life for years at this point. Right. So anyway, I guess the point that I'm making is that I don't, and I think this is, I've never heard of any cases of somebody with anxiety, like just straight across the board, panic disorder, anxiety, whatever it is, PTSD, any of these things, actually becoming schizophrenic. Now, you're right in saying that these are all considered to be mental disorders, but things like anxiety, panic, these are within functional areas of mental disorder where you can do things like cognitive behavioral therapy. You can come out of these things. Schizophrenia, you need to be on medication in order to come out of that, or even to live any semblance of a normal life, right? Now, barring the Lord. The Lord can heal anybody he wants to. He can take a guy who's been schizophrenic for 45 years and just, boom, heal him instantly, and he's back in his sane mind. We see it in the scripture. The guys are demon-possessed, and then people are like, dude, isn't that the guy that's been nutso for the last 40 years? Look at him. He's normal. He's got clean clothes on. He's walking around talking to everybody, praising the Lord. Yeah. And it's this big shocker thing. So, of course, the Lord can do whatever he wants, but I'm just saying, kind of what I see in reality, what I'm learning from the things I read on CBT and on anxiety disorder and those kinds of things. And I think that's only important because it's such a big fear. And if we give in to that particular fear, we can go into some dark places.
Well, I think it's good that you're saying, because that's a thing that like I don't feel like in my own thing that I feel like it's for me, like that I'm losing a grip on reality per se, where I think some other people may feel like they're losing their grip. Like I was saying, like it attacks people differently, and everyone has their own symptoms, and everyone has their own cure remedy, right? That has to come from different angles. Sure. So like you're saying, so for some people it may be to like where they feel like they're losing their mind. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Where for myself it doesn't feel like I'm so much losing my mind. Instead it feels like I have something in the back that I'm forgetting constantly. Like memory issues, you mean? Like it's just there. Like, when you like, man, I got to turn the fire off. Man, I better not forget to, fill in the blanks at the house. Yeah. It's important. Right? And that can become OCD too. And it's like, there's nothing. Yeah. It's not there. There's not really a thing. Right. But it's the feeling of constant forgetting something. Like, I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Yes. And so for me, that's what's the constant, and that's actually what that other chapter was on being, that really helped me. This one. Okay. Which one was it? Relieving worry and anxiety. So that one really hit on that. Yeah. Because that's what it is. That's worry in the back of your head. Right. Like just hanging out there. So I never thought I was losing my mind. I just feel like instead I'm losing my grasp on what's important, like the priority of items you need to take care of, right? Yes. Does that make sense? Absolutely. That's more what I feel like I'm having difficulty with, like, right? Yeah. I never feel like I'm really like I'm going crazy or anything like that. Like, sure. That's not something that, because like I said, I already feel like I'm a little crazy. Can't go somewhere you're already at. We're
Like, I'm already
there,
delusional.
buddy.
Yeah.
Too late for that. That's where he found me in crazy, right?
Oh, man. So, all right, man. Well, we should probably cut it there, huh?
All right, brother.
That was good stuff, dude. That was fun.
Man,
That was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's really, like, this has really helped me, man.
Yeah, I bet.
That part of...
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Don't forget to tell all of your friends, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. For feedback, you can reach me at my email, which is whycan'twetalkaboutthat@proton.me. Thanks.